Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good. If you love your woo, it's time to make a commitment to the 3rd annual SOR Fan Party. This time, we're heading to Reno, Nevada, and the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60 or $100 for VIP. With that, you get a free radio show. You get to hang out with celebrity guests from Spaced Out Radio, including our team, who are coming to hang out with you. You get to meet the entire team, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldine Orozco, and more. It's a weekend packed with adventure, and we want you there. After all, we're doing this for you. Find out more and get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com and book your hotels today at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. Come join us for the SOR Fan Party, May 10th through 12th, 2024.
I'm not a good pretender, I never could live a lie. I said too much, and let it get the best of me, until it took the rest of me. I thought it was worth the fight, to fight for what's right, to right all the wrongs, to sing in our songs, to know we belong. No one understands, they don't have the desire, got their hands in the fire, and they do it again. We give it all we can, all we have is desire, got their hands in the fire, we burn ourselves, they never say, never say, never say, never again. I never say, never say, never say, never again. I learned more from one enemy than from 1,000 friends. That heaven takes care of the fools and scoundrels in the end. You learn more from one lie than from 1,000 truths.
Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please also don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. And then also don't forget to go follow me on my other channel, The Social Dig, where you can find Mr. Rob G spitting the real facts all the time whenever we get down. So definitely glad that we're here tonight on this fantastic Sunday as we get ready to jump into the work week. You know how we do, as we always do. I'm going to wish and put great energy out there for everybody who's watching the show tonight to have a fantastic week. Boom, there it is. It's there. It's there for you right now. So it shall happen. Dave Scott actually is run into some more travel difficulties. As you know, he went right into some bad weather going out for this convention to speak at the conference, which actually happened without any issue. and he's on his way back home without any issues, definitely safe. Although prayers go out to everybody who lost something out there in Nebraska and in all the surrounding states, Oklahoma, Kansas, and other states. So prayers go out to those people, and maybe you're viewing from that area or have family in that area. So prayers out to everybody, who suffered adversely, with these severe storms that have passed through. With that being said, though, because Dave Scott's flights are rerouted, which means I'll fill in for him tomorrow and interview the awesome Lon Strickler, which is another person on the list that I definitely want to speak to. So that actually works out pretty great. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into chat so we can get these medal positions out of the way. Let's see exactly who came in when. And I can always count on Race Fan for keeping me in the loop. And it looks like, according to Race Fan, tonight's medal positions are Race Fan with the gold, Mothman with the silver, and then SJ with the bronze. SJ might be a new name. I don't know. We'll see as we jump into the chat and welcome everyone into the show tonight. Yes. We had our technical difficulties yesterday, so I'm glad you guys enjoyed the archive show that we played. Grant Cameron talking about Oak Shannon, the Wilson docs, right? Stuff like that can never get old. It is good that we can jump into our archives to kind of pull something out like that when we run into technical issues with the live show, right? With that being said, check with the guest tonight, and we should be all good to go, sounding really, really good. And our guest tonight is none other than the legend, Mr. Jim Goodall. But we'll get into just some conversation, man, right? And we can consider this a AJA, a Ask Jim Anything Day for you guys. So you guys have some things that you specifically have always wanted to ask Jim Goodall. Get those questions ready, and we'll kind of get those going in hour number 2. But going in hour number 3, actually, let me tell you this: we have something new that'll be happening on Sundays, and kind of the rearranging of things. Our guy Travis Moosdus has moved over to Saturday shows, and which you'll share the spot with Brian Bowden to kind of alternate. And then we have a new person coming in here on Sundays who will debut themselves today, former guest, and somebody I really think you guys will enjoy. So we'll have to wait to hour 3 to find out what that's all about. Well, let's jump in the chat. Let's take a look and see what do we have. We have Deb from Sacramento in the chat saying, "Hey, Rob G, I emailed you the trivia list. Hey, guys." And Deb from Sac, I do appreciate that. I did receive that. And this show is going to be pretty jam-packed, so we may not get to those until maybe next weekend. Just heads up on that. But I do appreciate the time you spent on getting that curated and sent on in. Let's see. Mothman saying, "Hi, Deborah Rooney. Thanks for coming in, Mothman. We appreciate you." Princess Lion saying hi with the heart emojis with the smiley face. We appreciate you coming on in, Princess Lion. Who else do we have out there? We got Roger Murray dropping knowledge once again. April 30th, 1968, National Press Club, Washington, D.C. UFO. Researcher Donald Keyhole addressed the government disclosure UFO Betty and Barney Hill case in 1961. One of the most popular alien abduction cases to date. And the regression, if you've ever watched the regression tapes on those, they will sit with you for a long time, believe me. But when we're getting into the history of this, it's a very important part of the history. So thanks again for dropping the knowledge on this, Roger Murray. And thank you so much for coming on in, sir. Who else do we got out here? We got John Lamb saying, "Howdy, everyone." Howdy, John Lamb. Thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up. Going through the chat, we got Phyllis Mouchette Perry saying, "Hi, Roger." Hey, Phyllis Mouchette Perry. Thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up tonight. Let's see. Yeah, John Lamb saying, "Thank you, Mr. Rob G, for having Jim G on tonight." Yeah, Rob G and Jim G. Didn't think about that. So Mr. Jim G, Mr. Rob G, we're going to get it on in tonight. And he's a great guy. If you know anything about Jim Goodall, really great guy, and has awesome knowledge and history that we'll be getting into tonight. So it should be pretty awesome. Let's see, who else do we got? We got Jessica S saying, I heard Jim Goodall will be here. You are absolutely right, Jessica S. Jim Goodall is in the building tonight. So get your questions ready for hour 2 because it's Ask Jim Anything tonight. Let's get into it. David Blaylock saying hello for the friends. Hello, David Blaylock. Thank you so much for coming on in. Seems like you might be new. If you are, just have to give the spiel for any new people here. You have come in on a Sunday. So this is after hours. We run Saturdays and Sundays here at Space Out Radio, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. On Sundays, we have Jessica Jones, Cryptid Huntress, which some of you may be coming over from her show she had with Long Island Bigfoot, but she runs 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Pacific. So you kind of watch that show and you follow everybody right on over to the after hours. Dave Scott picks it up Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight. So 7 days a week, always something going on here at Space Out Radio. So definitely would love to have you come back, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, so you know the next time the show goes live. Appreciate you coming on in, David Blaylock. Moving down the list, we got Ginger Turtle 43 saying happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday right back to you, Ginger Turtle 43. We appreciate you showing on up tonight. We do appreciate you. Got Paranormal Pixie Laura coughs saying those underwear are questionable. LOL. The Dave Scott draws are questionable. Paranormal Pixie Laura said it. It wasn't me, Dave. I mean, we can talk more about that. And please, for those coming to Reno, bring some of your SOR swag so we can get some pictures and kind of get those things posted on the website. Thanks for coming on in, Paranormal Pixie Laura. We got Betty Spaghetti saying SOR with the exclamation points, alien head emoji, spaceship emoji, and I forgot it was the Space Invaders emoji. I'm right on that, right? Appreciate you coming on in. Thanks for showing up. We got Gizmo saying hello, everyone, with the spaceship emoji, alien head emoji. Thanks for showing on in. JSCL77 say, are we live or can? We are live tonight. We would have been live yesterday, but as you know, at the end of the week, we ran into those audio issues, and we can't put a show on like that. So to be safe, we tested everything yesterday and gave you guys an archive show that it appears everyone enjoyed. So glad that we could do that for you. Thanks for coming on in, JSCO77. Appreciate you. We got Aloha Day 13. Saludos a todos de México. Espero que su fin de semana fue maravilloso. Okay. Greetings everyone from Mexico, and I don't know the other part. I'm gonna have to decode that Aloha Day, but you always keep us bilingual, and we appreciate that right here at Spaced Out Radio. So thanks so much for coming on in, Aloha Dave, and I'll get back with you on the translation for that a little bit later. Let's see, who else do we have in here tonight? Who else do we have? Little Cam 51 coming on in from Twitch saying St. Louis wins again, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble, 2 blocks, punts, 45-12. Missouri, love our dynasties. All right, thanks for coming on in, Little Cam 51 representing. We got T-Bone in the building saying hello, Mr. Rob G and all. Thank you for coming on in, T-Bone. Shout out right back to you. Getting down the list tonight, we got... Let's see. And I got to put this out here too. Phyllis Michelle Perry says she's super excited about seeing Jim Goodall. And I feel the same way. It's been a long time. I thought back, I was like, we haven't had him on for months now. Yeah, it's time. We got to get Jim on. And he graciously agreed to come on tonight. So we'll be getting into that. So Phyllis Michelle, anything that you thought about asking Jim, get those questions ready. Going down the list, we have Eternity Eternal saying, hi, Rob G. Hey, Eternity Eternal, thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you. Paranormal Pixie has a right idea saying slap that like button as you come in the door. Love it. We need that. We gotta activate the algorithm. You gotta let YouTube know that we like the shows that we're watching here. So definitely appreciate that, Paranormal Pixie Laura, and great advice for everyone out there. Please go and hit that like button for us tonight. And all right, so yeah, David Blaylock says this is first time here tonight, so glad to know that. So that's why I gave you the rundown earlier we do this. It's a great community out there as well. The chat is awesome, as you'll see. A lot of love out there and a lot of people looking for the truth, which is why we're here. So welcome on in. We appreciate you. We got Operation Shutdown saying hello, Rob and SOR chat. Let's get busy in after hours. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get busy. We got the new theme music. So the theme music kind of gets you going. It gets me going, at least right off the bat. And it was definitely selected by me. So it's just more reflection of the way that I feel and what I like to get ready to. So appreciate you getting pumped up for the show. Stargazer, hello, SOR and Rob. Hey, Stargazer, thanks for coming on in. Let's get it in tonight, guys. We got Poncho Zork saying, all right, just showed up. Well, that means you're right on time, because we have not got it going yet, but we're about to. So fasten your seatbelt. Jam-packed, action-packed show today. And like I say, we have some new stuff introducing in hour 3 for Sundays. So you guys stay tuned for that. We got Dinah P saying hi. Hey, with the wavy hand emoji. Hi, Dinah P or Dina. Dina, maybe, right? Dina or Dinah, either one. Thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up. Thanks for supporting the show tonight. And getting down this list, we got Corey. Corey's in the building saying, you the man, Rob G. I appreciate you, Corey. Can't do it without you. So that makes you the man or the lady, depending on, I'm not sure what you reflect, but definitely appreciate you as a human being coming on in here and supporting the show. Definitely love it. And let's see. Jessica S says, welcome, Jim Goodall. Hope the vet is doing well. No, Jim keeps it tight. The vet is going to be okay. Hopefully we get to see that thing in Reno. Time will tell. We have the live show, so maybe that'll be something you see on the live show. I don't know. We'll see. River Morris comes on in saying, "Cooey from us Yowie mob down under. Love it." River Morris, thanks for coming on in down under on the other side of the world. Think about that. Let that sink in for a minute, guys. Viewers from all across the globe here tonight. It, man, humbles me, makes me feel really good about doing the show and delivering messages and moving the needle with people from all around the world. Awesome stuff, guys. Let's see. Moving down the list, we got Puck Elf in the building saying, hey, hugs. We do appreciate you coming on in, Puck Elf, bringing that energy in the building. Love to see you here. Appreciate you. Saying, oi, Rob G. Right back to you. Let's see. Getting down the list here. We are getting down, and we ran right into Donald Dean XL 500. So imagine coming home and your house is gone. I know I used to live down south for a couple years, and I was, believe me, when tornado season comes in, like which is now, it's a scary time, and it runs for like 6 months out of the year roughly, and you always are looking up. So it's, I couldn't wait to move back to California, and it's very, very stressful situation living out there with that. Some people are used to it, but yeah, I never got used to it, guys. Let's see. Getting down the list here. Okay. Let me see where we're at here. All right. Dead from Sack says abduct that like button, please. We do appreciate it if you do so. Let's see. We got Dave Walters coming on in saying, hi, Mr. Rob G, and all in chat. Hey, Dave Walters, right back to you. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up tonight. Let's see. John Lamb came in and said Grant Cameron is a superstar. Yeah, I mean, and the data never gets old. We're still looking for answers. So there's no way that any of these shows could outdate themselves. We're still asking the same questions. We are still focusing on some of the same things. So it's evergreen content and we love it. And anytime we have some sort of issue going on, we'll make sure that you have a great fill-in show like we did last night. Thanks for coming on in, John Lamb. Getting down the list, Christine Lynn saying hi, Rob and SOR. Hi, Christine Lynn. Thank you so much for coming on in. Appreciate it. Let's see. Moving down the list here. Okay, so we said all We brought all you guys in. We did not bring slow motion in. Hi slow motion. Thanks for coming on in. And anyone else that we missed here, moving down. Babylon Rose saying howdy SOR fam with the alien head emoji. Hey Babylon Rose, thanks for coming on in tonight. Hope you enjoy the show. Karen in the Woo Train. Hey, Mr. Rob, ready for this great show? Definitely. I'm ready for it too, man. He's a really good dude, Jim Goodall. Always feel good talking to him. So I'm just excited to do it, honored as well. Moving down, we got Algoray saying Rob G and Jim G, two real G's. Love it. And it's a fact. That's a fact. Thanks for coming on in tonight, Algoray. We do appreciate you showing up and supporting the show. Let's see. We are moving down the list. Okay, Karen the Woo Train says, Rob, your music is so rocking. Appreciate that. Yes, I do appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, Leafy Nebula coming on in saying, hey, chat. Hey, Leafy Nebula, thanks so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. We really, really, really do. Let's see. Kevin. Okay, Kevin, first time here from the UK. So I'll just go ahead and go over the spiel again. You've come in on the after hours. We run Saturday and Sunday here, 8 p.m. Pacific till 11. Every Saturday and Sunday, every week. Sundays, you got Jessica Jones, Cryptid Hunter. She runs right before the after hours, so 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific. Then you come right over here on Sunday and do the after hours. Monday through Friday, the conductor of the Woo Train, Dave Scott, comes in 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight. So 7 days a week, you will always find something to interest you and to get into here on Spaced Out Radio. So thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. T-Bone with the early super chat. We do appreciate you showing your love and support for Spaced Out Radio. We really, really do. We really appreciate that support. Same for Deb from SAC saying, speaking of support, we love you, Rob G and SOR family. Oh, man, makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. One of the real reasons I get up here to do this is because of you guys. So I do appreciate that love and support. How else can I say it? I really do appreciate it. Let's see. Moving down the list here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. 35th anniversary, Bob Lazar and John Lear, Area 51. And we'll get Jim to talk about all that stuff tonight. I'm sure he has fond memories of everything above. I can't wait. We'll do that in just a minute here. We're almost done. We are almost down the list here. And yes, we welcome everyone into the show. If you're new here, we welcome everyone. Each one of you guys are important to making this thing go. And I think we are current. We do have a Carl Bittner sighting saying, hey there, to Mothman, Roger Murray, Dead from SAC, T-Bone, and Gizmo. Hey, Carl Bittner, thanks for coming on in. Thanks for keeping this thing moving. That is human Carl, as Dave calls him, not alien Carl, not to be confused with alien Carl. Appreciate you coming on in, human Carl. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. So, can't wait, right? It's going to be an awesome show. I can feel it in my bones, especially after all the hiccups we had at the end of the week. I got to have a strong show tonight. I'm going to will it into existence. I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to manifest an excellent show tonight. But what we're going to do first, because we didn't have the show yesterday, and that means then today we're going to go ahead and hop into the SOR time machine. Jump back in time, see the week that was Spaced Out Radio, see what you missed, right? Because all of our archives are free and you can catch anything that you miss, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Let's go ahead and run the review and then we'll be back with Jim Goodall in just a moment. Here we go.
All right. You've done a dissertation on UAP. The one thing that you said in the last half hour that really kind of hit me was how many people didn't know in your university classes what UAP are. Was that a little surprising to you, considering that it had been in the news? It's becoming more popular. It is a science that we may not know very much about as of right now, that could take really do another industrial revolution type of scientific study.
Yeah, I'd love to come back to the fact that you just said that it could do another industrial revolution, because I totally agree, and I think that that's one of the overlooked sort of subjects here. But so yes and no, because I think what I guess I've managed to do for myself, which I feel like is a great privilege, is to surround myself with people who all know what I'm talking about when I talk about any of this stuff, right? So UFO, UAP, like I love having so many friends who are just like immersed in this and in this community, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. But in a way, yeah, I was absolutely super surprised that, like I could be talking to a room of like 50 or more people in academia, and in my presentation, I think I started off with like the term, like I said, like, has anybody actually heard the term UAP before? And like one person raised their hands. And it's like, do you people not read the news? I would think that you would read the news, but then again, when I think about it, I guess like the term UFO is typically what does get used in the news. And I think that there's good reason for that on a couple different sides, but mostly because, like UAP isn't the term that people generally engage with this topic under, right? So most people just know it as UFO, and that's totally fine. I mean, like I think I mentioned to you, like UAP is the term that I tend to use because it's the term that in general, although not universally, but in general, more researchers tend to use the term UAP just because it's like, I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like, on one hand, nobody's heard of the term UAP, but on the other hand, that also kind of, I think, at least in my research, I found this. And so I imagine this is true for other UAP researchers as well, although I haven't specifically had a chance to ask a lot of them that yet explicitly. It's something I do plan to ask it explicitly. But for my research, like it almost kind of like allows you to fly under the radar a little bit, because like if you just tell people, oh, I'm doing research on UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, like a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. And so that's, not a great thing, but it's also sometimes it can kind of be a good thing when you think about the stigma that is typically applied to UAP research, right? And just like how much stigma there has been done on UAP research, UFO research, whatever you want to call it. Like you think about things like basically the inquest of John Mack and how he was basically super targeted for just like more or less taking experiencers seriously on their own terms. And to me, as an anthropologist, also that kind of inquiry is just frankly a little bit appalling, because that's one of the main things that we try to do in anthropology, is to take people seriously on their own terms and not to apply judgments to them. And so just to see how widely that is a practice in academia has been, it's a little bit alarming, but it's also encouraging to see how that has been a little bit less of a thing recently. And I do think that part of that is using the term UAP. And I do think part of that, frankly, to be honest, is just that so few people really understand what that means.
Yeah. In your estimation, for the hundreds of thousands of photos and videos you've analyzed over the years, what's a UFO?
A UFO is to me, all right, which is the intended purpose. UFO and UAP mean the same thing to me. And in the break, I mentioned to you that UAP is a term the government coined, so they would actually have some control over the concept of an extraterrestrial craft from another world. And I know that David Grush actually said things like, well, it's not necessarily only extraterrestrial. It could be some other type of thing. What other type of thing could it be? It's not an adversary here on the earth. It's going to be something from not here. Okay. And so that's why I think that a UFO, a UAP, to me is a visitation vehicle from a different world. And I keep it as simple as that because I don't want to muddy the waters. I think that that's a real simple explanation, and I think that that's what we should be looking for. And when you say what you're looking for, you can then develop a methodology to find what you're looking for. If you make it too large a bucket, you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to find everything within the bucket and find the craft moving here. And I think I know how they operate, by the way. I do. I actually been lecturing about this around the country. I just got back from Arkansas. I did it there, and people absolutely loved it there. I've done it in Roswell. I've talked about it at Contact in the Desert, where I'll be at the end of the month, end of May.
Give us a little hint here.
I'm gonna. Well, first of all, you know how it is. This is we gotta build it up, right? And then gotta go to a break. No, I was kidding. Keep this in mind. If you have a craft and it's going to come here from a long way away, it can't come here by traveling the absolute distance between there and here and travel in our 4 dimensions, X, Y, Z, all moving through time. You can't do that. It can't come here from there. It took us over 10 years to get to Pluto traveling in our XYZ moving through time. Just our 4 dimensions. If we wanted to go to Alpha Centauri, only 4 light years away, the closest star to us, it would take us 10 to 11,000 years at the speed of the New Horizons probe that went to Pluto. And that was going as fast as anything we've ever come up with. So it would still take over 10 to 11,000 years to get there. So clearly, this is not good. Not a good methodology. We need something else.
About how did this happen? How did all of a sudden everything change? I have heard stories that it's because of CERN. I've heard stories that it changed back in 2012 when the Mayan calendar was supposed to be the end of the world, but it wasn't, as we all predicted. And how did this begin?
So, when you ask me how, I'm just going to preface it by saying, obviously, this is speculation by me. So I really don't know. Of course, I have my thoughts, and there's certain things I rule out for certain reasons, and I'd like to get into that a little bit. I think the Mandela effect, of course, I think it's just a crappy term that's given to what I think didn't have really a jumping off point, Dave. I don't think it was 2012. I don't think it was CERN. I think it's always been happening. I literally think it's partly a function of this reality. But also whatever created this reality is trying to communicate with us. So put your favorite theory there. Do you think we're in a God's creation? You think we're in a simulation? You guys know the different ideas that people have on this reality. But for me, like I certainly don't think it had one of those dates where it jumped off, because people have been experiencing changes long before that type of thing. Also, as far as different timelines, time travel, we came from one part of the galaxy to another. We came from one timeline to another, multiverses. While surely I can't say to you confidently I would know how those concepts all work 100%, right? I would have a very vague understanding of them from movies we've seen and things like this, right? But for me, none of those work, because we talk about the residue, right? So if we came from another timeline or another universe, right? Or if somebody traveled back in time, tinkered with some things, and that's why we see these Mandela effects, why would there be residue? Why would all the physical evidence even exist at all? Why would it be here? It would either be in the other timeline, or if it was a time travel cost thing, we would have branched off into this new timeline when things are different. There would be no residue of those other things, in my opinion. The other thing, too, is if it's because we came from one place to another, we'll start with the beginner part of it. If we came from one place to another and things were different, and that's why we think it's the Mandela effect, well, we would have brought every single person on Earth with us, because every single person on Earth is Mandela affected. Everybody I've ever encountered has the same recollection on so many of these changes right down the line.
Just like when you look at that and you think, I mean, right now it's out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people, because we don't have to deal with that on a daily basis, but it's out there and it's just sitting there. And the ETs have to be, that's why I always wonder how they perceive human beings when they look at us, because if they're looking over the total, we don't make a lot of good decisions as human beings, and I think they see that, and it's sad.
We don't make a lot of good decisions. I think there's a collective effort to get better.
Hopefully.
I'm an optimist. I do think there's a collective effort to get better. I mean, you certainly see that. You got all your spaced out listeners. They're collective effort to get better, but it doesn't even have anything to do with, like, you know, whether you believe in aliens, you don't believe in aliens. It's that, you know, there are opportunities every day for humanity to do the right thing. And so if everybody is just, you know, 2 or 3 times a day doing the right thing. But you asked about witches, and that's you know, one of the biggest tenets of witchcraft is harm none, right? Like, and that doesn't mean that you can't occasionally be vengeful, right? There are members of the witchcraft community that feel perfectly comfortable with hexes and curses, and quite frankly, I'm with them, right? I just, like, some people just, they need to be hexed. There's just no way. There's no two ways about it. But at the same time, you know, the idea isn't so much. It's a very similar things to, like, you know, the East Indian idea of karma. It's a totally, what you put out there comes back. So if you're gonna put out a bunch of, like, jerky, you know, nuclear waste, and you're just gonna be a jerk, right? Then people are gonna be a jerk to you, and then you're gonna be a bigger jerk.
Right.
But witches have the ability, ideally, like, and this is where, like, the initiatory witchcraft comes into play, to really kind of, like, transcend that idea that what I do and what comes back to me, and transcend it beyond to, like, really working for the greater good of humanity through witchcraft. And really trying to protect those who need protection.
Wow. So once you started looking into this and kind of made this a thing, what was the response, or what was the reaction from the police department once you started trying to catalog cases? Were were they standoffish? Were they welcoming? Or what was the atmosphere?
Surprisingly accepting. We had a large number of people who I was not expecting to actually be kind of welcoming and helping. We've received numerous reports from officers from our own former department to other departments all over the Southwest, some other areas, New York, Texas, California. Yeah. And there are still some people that are hesitant. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is, if an officer has an encounter and they want to come forward and talk about it, we will not divulge their name if they don't want it. So we let them dictate how far we go. Because we've had some officers who have been like, 100%, you can use my name, I'm already retired, I'm so close to retirement, you can use my name, you can use my whole full story. And then we've had other officers who are like, hey, I just got promoted to sergeant, I can't have my name out there, but I want to tell you this story because it's been eating me up inside. So
we've had officers, as soon as they hear about what UAPD is all about and what we're doing, and we are police officers, they feel very comfortable talking to us. I've had people come out of the blue say, hey, I heard about your organization. I've got a story that's been eating inside of me for so many years, and I've wanted to get it out. It's like, Dave, it was eating inside of him. It was hurting his health, his family life, his career. And as soon as he was able to get it out and share that story, it's just like the stress just melted off of him. And we've had officers that came to us as, I didn't know where else to turn. So I saw UAPD. That's why we called. We're getting people on our website, on our Facebook page, and they're sharing their stories with us. And we really appreciate it. And we're happy that they come to us and we can help them out.
All right, guys. All right. So awesome week at Spaced Out Radio, right? Dave and Marianne were awesome to interview, and so was Varla Ventura, being able to meet her for the first time, along with the other shows that you saw hosted by Dave Scott earlier in the week. Definitely a lot of good content happened this week here at Spaced Out Radio. If you missed any of it, you can go ahead and catch back up on anything you may have missed by jumping into the archive, spacedoutradio.com / it's actually youtube.com / spaced out radio, where the archives are endless. And you can go ahead and jump in there at any time, catch anything that you missed. Without further delay, we got the man with the plan, the legend. Always love talking to this legend here, and we're going to go ahead and bring him on. And know that's who you guys are all here to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the man with the plan, the man with the Corvette, that hopefully he'll be in Reno with it, Jim Goodall. Hello, Jim. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. And I just turned 105,700 miles on the car. And I love it. I drive it everywhere. I primarily go on road trips twice a year. I'll go one up the West Coast. I've been going to Vegas, and I keep going north. And then later on in the summer, I head out towards the Austin area. I go up to Dallas. I go to last time I went to Graceland, which I've been wanting to go forever. Wow. My mom loved Elvis Presley, and I saw him with my mom, my cousin Cookie, and my Aunt Mary. The four of us went to his very first concert in San Francisco. It was February 1957. I was not quite 12 years old, and my dad was complaining about the tickets. And we were not more than 40 feet from the stage. We're off to one side, and we're elevated, so we're looking down. I mean, it were great seats, and they were $7 tickets to see Elvis Presley. Yeah. And he sang every song he'd ever recorded twice. So it was a great performance. But I feel very comfortable in this community. There's a lot of wonderful people. But like in any community, there's always one or two jackasses. None of them on SOR. But that's about it. And I've never felt more accepted. I guess that's the best way to put it. I'm the type of person that when people get to know me, no one has a neutral opinion of me. They either really like me or they can't stand me. And that's just the facts of life, and I live with it. And it is what it is. But I'm here. I want to thank all the nice comments I read on the posts, on the chats, on the side. And it's just, I look forward to evenings like this. I don't have a very exciting life. Well, yeah, I do, but
yes, you do, sir.
Yeah, but this is sort of the part I really enjoy, because I love Dave Scott. I love everybody that's on his, on SOR, and I'm all here by accident. If it wasn't for the fact that I was to meet Michael Schratt back in March of 2019, he called me up and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Phoenix." I live in Tucson, for anybody who doesn't know. I live in Tucson. I get a call from Michael and said, "I'm going to be at a MUFON function in Phoenix in March of 19. I said, "It's 90 miles away. I'll be up there." So I go up there and I run into Doc Skinner. I didn't know who he was, and everybody was watching the Lazar thing. And I introduced myself to Doc. Said, "Hey, I'm Doc Skinner," and I said, "I'm Jim Goodall," and he said, "I didn't see you on the program." I said, "Well, I didn't know I was coming here till this morning," and and the rest is history. I mean, it's been one thing after another, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed the trip. Everybody, I say, there's only one exception, and I won't mention his name. And it's nobody who's been on any of the an SOR or any other major UFO related podcast. But everybody else is just an absolute delight. And and we've lost a couple of people this year. I was going to be heading into the Bakersfield area in the Fresno area here a month or so ago. I had problems here at home, so I didn't go. And then 3 days later, here's Sonny Conway passed away. And I mean, that was the first 5-hour on the air session I'd ever had, and I've had a couple of them since, but that was the first one. And I do. He was one of the good guys, like you are, Rob. You're one of the good guys. Dave is, and I love you guys. And if I have time, somebody wants me on, I'll be there. Now I've been gone all week. I was up in Seattle. My oldest, dearest friend. Now I'm 79, and I've been friends with my best friend since I was 17.
Wow.
And I'm 79. I think I'm a young 79. He's an old 81. He was having knee replacement, and he lives by himself. He doesn't really have anybody around. So he's my brother.
Yeah. So
I went up there. I took care of him. I said, I'm not going to. If you miss your pants, you're going to have to deal with that yourself. But I want to make sure he didn't. Nothing started hemorrhaging, or he didn't fall down and get hurt. So I spent the whole week up there watching him. And then when I came home last night, I parked my car at Phoenix Sky Harbor, and I get to my car, and here's my black car is sort of a gray color now because of all this, all the dust and the crap from the airport. Get in there, start it up, right front tire's flat.
Mm.
And I drove probably 10 miles. I run flat, so I can, as long as you're limited to 55 miles an hour,
mm-hmm.
which is the only time I'm limited to 55 miles an hour if I have a flat tire.
Right.
And I drove all over that part of Phoenix, not Phoenix, actually Tempe, before I found a place that had that was open and had air. And when I went out running errands this morning, it dropped down a little bit, but I have to go and get it fixed tomorrow because there's no way I'm gonna get a flat tire halfway between Vegas and Reno. There's a lot of nothing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an awesome drive though. And I wanted to stop for a second. Just definitely want to I just want to stop for a minute and talk about you real quick, Jim, because you are a legend, right? So you're a legend in the things that you've been a part of throughout your life. You have so many different stories, and we'll end up talking about some of those today. But also, not only are you a legend yourself, you know a lot of legends in the space, which is even more interesting. Some of the top names in this thing here, and we'll discuss all that too. Another thing is that we love you right back, Jim. You know, the love is reciprocated here, and we can't go too long without not having you on. You're always a joy to talk to. The audience loves to hear from you.
Yeah, like I've told you before, anytime you need somebody, and if I'm available, if you have someone who gets sick or misses a plane, or is that Taco Bell? That would be our fearless leader, Mr. Scott.
Exactly. who is actually being detoured through Las Vegas right now. I think he goes into Vegas tonight before he flies back out to British Columbia. So he ran right into those storms, the tornadoes in Nebraska. Yeah, he had a convention in Nebraska where he was due to speak on Saturday, which he did. But as he came in, his flight was rerouted to Dallas, and he had to sit there for like a day. But he made the convention okay, but now he's being rerouted on his way back. You know, there was some losses out there, some lives lost, and a lot of property damage. So, prayers goes out to those people. Dave Scott is definitely okay, and he'll be back in the saddle on Tuesday. I did though want, because we've had some growth over the last year, and we're proud of that. And with that being said, we had at least a couple thousand new people come on to Spaced Out Radio, and I would I'm just gonna assume that those couple thousand people don't know Jim Goodall, and that's kind of how I want to do it this time.
Yeah.
So I would love for those new people who are seeing Jim for the first time here. And let me start out with this, because Jim is not only a legend and has been a part of all these different things, he's also a fantastic author. And I was blessed enough to get this book from Mr. Jim Goodall, and I will always hold this book up and promote it. This is an awesome book, period. There is no spin on this. This is just pure data and facts that Jim Goodall has curated and put together. And this is worth every penny. Guys, you got to go out and get this book, along with the other ones that we talked about. I know last time you were on, I had you on, Jim. We talked about Belize, and I know the time before that we talked about the Submarine book. For these people that are new, let's start from the beginning again, Jim. Let's talk about what got you into this and kind of go down that road and all the fantastic people you've met along the way.
Well, I mean, what got me interested in machines or airplanes specifically is it started. I was about 5 or 6. Now I'm old, so I'm older than everybody's grandparents or great grandparents out there. And we're living in San Jose in the Bay Area, and I'd already gone to bed. My dad came into the bedroom and said, "I don't know what's coming, but you got to see it." So we went outside looking at the coast mountains, and over the mountains came not 1 or 2, but 24 10-engine Convair B-36 strategic bombers. There's a 260-foot wingspan. It had 6 4,360 cubic inch 28-cylinder radial engines and 4 jet engines. And it could fly for 60 hours unrefueled. And they were coming back. They had been in Guam, I think, for 30 or 60 days. And they had 37 or 38 B-36s, but they can only get 24 of them working all at the same time. And they took off from Guam. They flew along the coast of China in international airspace, through the Straits of Formosa, by North Korea, and then home. And for years, I thought there was maybe 12 or 15 or 18 of them. And I ran into, when I worked for the Museum of Flight, I ran into a flight engineer who was on the lead airplane. He said, "No, there was 24 of them." I said, "Well, how do you know 24? He said, "I was in the lead airplane." So that's where it really began. And then sort of fast forward to about 9 or 10, and we're living in Mountain View now, which is the heart of Silicon Valley. Back then, it was just I lived in the middle of an apricot orchard, and the area was known for fruits and nuts, not the 2-legged kind, but the type that grew in trees and bushes and plants and whatever. And my best friend at the time, his dad was base commander at Moffett Field Naval Air Station, and Danny and I pretty much had to run the place, and we were always referred to as Captain Smith's son and that friend of his. And I was that friend of his. All the shore patrol knew us, all the Marine Guards knew us, but we were there so much we became invisible. So Danny called me up and he said, I can't remember what time of the year it was, but it had to be nice. I had to be out of school, so it could have been in the summer. He said, you got to come to Moffett today. I said, "Sure. Why, you got something going on?" He said, "Yeah, there's something so cool in the big hangar." So I rode my bicycle there, and I got to the gate, and I called the house, and he came and got me. And we had I think we had a bite to eat, and we went to the main hangar, the big hangar, the one the Google brothers are reskinning because it had asbestos impregnated panels on it. And we'd ride our bicycles right down the middle of the hangar. There's maybe 20 or 30 airplanes in there, a lot of people. They don't even look up as we ride through. And for those who have never seen the very large hangar number 1 at Moffett Field, it's 1,100 feet long, it's 400 feet wide, and it's 400 feet tall on the inside.
Huge.
And it was for housing blimps and dirigibles, and it was just a neat place to grow up as a kid. So we head down to the far end, closest to the bay, and there's an area just said keep out, not use of deadly force authorized. And there's a black curtain, and we park our bikes. Danny pushes back the curtain, and we go in, and there is the prototype XF-104 Starfighter, a Skunk Works airplane. And that had the real short wings, and the leading edges were so sharp that if you fell into them, you'd cut yourself, which was a fallacy. They were never that sharp, but they were very thin wings, excuse me. And I'm walking around it, and Danny says, "Well, you don't have the guts to get in the cockpit." I said, "Do you want to make a bet?" So we opened the canopy. We moved the boarding ladder in. That's hangar number 1. And at the very, very far end is where the XF-104 was. It had been at the NASA. And if you see that little sort of a tan color building on the far left-hand side down near the base, that's part of the wind tunnel complex at Moffett Field. It's the Ames Flight Research Center wind tunnel. But Danny and I, he opens it up. I get in. We close the canopy. He latches it, and I'm sitting there just looking at everything, touching all the buttons and moving the stick. Then I realized, I'm sitting on an ejection seat. I better not touch anything else. And I was getting kind of nervous because this was it was classified at the time. I think it was still classified secret. It wasn't top secret. So I go to unlatch the canopy, and it's stuck. Danny, we're both trying to open it. He's doing it on the outside. I'm doing it on the inside. And we can't. And now we're starting to panic. So Danny says, "I'll go get some help." So he went and got a couple of maintenance guys. They called a couple of the Lockheed guys. The Marine Guards came. The Shore Patrol was there. They got us out. It was just that we weren't strong enough. And I got a butt chewing that 70 years later still hurts. Boy, we got chewed up one side, down the other. And then Danny's dad, Navy Captain Smith, we got our butts chewed out from him. So, but that was the beginning of my passion. So I joined the Air Force in March of '62. I wanted to be around airplanes. I wanted to see neat stuff. And I'm stationed in Denver, Colorado at the former Lowry Air Force Base there in the east side of Denver. And I'm there for a year and a half, and I'm a communications specialist. And I get a call. I get a call to the orderly room and said, "We have a set of orders for you. You're going TDY, which is temporary duty, to Edwards Air Force Base to help support 3 programs." I said, "Well, what are they?" He said, "The YC-141 Lockheed Starlifter, the XB-70 Valkyrie from North American Aviation, and a classified program." So off I went. I got there in late February of '64. And on the morning of, I think it was February 29th, which was a Saturday, it was a leap year, they brought in 2 Blackbirds from Area 51. And when they got them in there, they had them angled to be pushed back into the Lockheed hangar. The engines were still running, and the heat from 4 J-58 engines that's hangar 1 naked. They took down all the asbestos impregnated panels. And the Blackbird set off the deluge system in the Lockheed hangar, about drowned a couple of tech reps there. And it wasn't until March, and I ran down to the parking lot to jump in my truck because I had a flight line badge and I wanted to see what all the excitement was. But someone had taken the truck and we were 8 miles from the flight line, so I missed everything. I had worked a lot of overtime the previous week, and I had in the Air Force or the military, if you put in extra hours, you don't get paid overtime. Sometimes you get comp time for overtime. So I had I had like 3 days off. So it's a Tuesday afternoon. It's about 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm waiting for the Northrop shuttle to fly between the Edwards Air Force Base and their headquarters there in Hawthorne, California, which is a suburb of LA. Mm-hmm. And I hear this noise coming from down the flight line. So I went running down the taxiway and I look off to the right. And at first I thought it was the X-15 rocket plane. It was black. There was fire coming out of the back. It was the loudest noise I'd ever heard from an airplane. But the people were too small. And all of a sudden they yelled, "Hey, we're loading the airplane." So it was a Piaggio. It's a gull wing pusher type. And so I ran back up, jumped in the airplane, and it was just 1 seat aisle, 1 seat. And that's all. And there was, I think it held 10 passengers. So we take off going right over Rogers Dry Lake, and we bank around. And as we bank over, I'm looking straight down on the top of a Blackbird. Now I'm 18 years old. This is just before I turned 19. I'm 18 years old, and I joined the Air Force to see incredible airplanes. There's nothing more incredible than a Blackbird. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then when I got back that following weekend, Monday morning came, and I got a set of work orders to install some equipment in the Lockheed hangar. So I drove the vehicle over there, and I walk into the back of the Lockheed hangar, and I'm seeing the rear end of 2 Blackbirds. Now, if you just see one, if you go to a museum and you see one, you just look at them and go, "Wow, that is incredible." I mean, it's black, it's sinister. It's as big as a 727 or a DC-9 or an MD-80, for those who know what that is. Only carries 2 people, 13,000 gallons of fuel and 2 people. And that affected my entire life. That changed everything. And when I got out...
Oh, right there. So the 2 Blackbirds, this affected your entire life, changed everything. Let's stop right there as we have to take a break real quick. We're going to pause for the cause, take our first break for the night, and then we'll come back in to finish that story up with Jim Goodall. You guys hang where you are. Don't move a muscle. We'll be right back in just a moment. See you in about 5. Yes. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. As we come back with a fantastic guest, Jim Goodall. And while we wait for Jim to come back, I just want to talk about the Spaced Out Radio live show, the 2024 Spaced Out Radio fan party, which is happening May 10th through 12th, but the live show will be happening May 10th at 3 p.m. Pacific. The show is already posted, so make sure you guys go ahead and hit the notification bell on that and tune in. We'd love to have you tune in. A lot of great surprises, a lot of great guests are going to be here, including Jim Goodall and myself and everyone else. Dave Scott, Science Bob, Merle, Mr. Rob G, Melinda Leslie, Dr. Michael P. Masters, R. Keith Andrews, Jessica Jones, Lala Bright, Jim Goodall, Dirty Phil, Tim Senor, Lorian Fenton, Kira, Grant Baker, Geraldine Orozco, and many more that aren't even included on this list, plus you, the viewers that were able to make it out here. We could add your names to the list as well, and the viewers that will tune in. So it's going to be an awesome time, guys. Live show is posted and ready to go. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit the notification bell for the live show. It's going to be an awesome show. We're going to be doing it live right there on the spot. You know what I mean? And hopefully everything goes well. I think it should. We're going to have fun. And we are actually back with Jim Goodall. We have, I'm going to bring this up as well. These are the films and documentaries you can catch Jim Goodall in. This is part of his lore and his legend, right? Secret Space UFOs, Fast Walkers, Secret Space UFOs, Rise of the TR-3B. He's featured in Ancient Aliens. He's featured in Above Top Secret. The Technology Begins Disclosure, The Countdown to Disclosure. Also UFO Endgame. Also, Jim has authored books like these ones you see here, the SR-71 Blackbird, the 75-year Skunk Works, which is the one I showed you, the one that I currently have, and the one that you see Bob Lazar holding on the thumbnail. We have the B-28 Spirit stealth bomber book, Fast Attack Submarines, Nautilus to Columbia, Fast Attack Submarines, SR-71 Pilot's Manual, along with Lockheed F-117A. So you can tell Jim has his finger on the pulse of top secret crafts. And I know, Jim, you were just into the story. So you walked into the hangar. You said you had the 2 SR-71 Blackbirds. And if you could go ahead and pick up from there.
I mean, and it affected me the rest of my life. And as it turns out, they were the YF-12. They were the interceptor version of the what eventually became the SR-71. There were 3 manned Blackbirds. That's an SR. They had the YF-12 interceptor, and then they had the A-12, which you could look at an A-12 and an SR-71, and if you weren't really, really familiar with both types, you would probably say it was the same airplane. SR-71 is a 2-place. The CIA version is a single place. The Air Force version can go up to about 85, maybe 86,000 feet. I think the highest they ever flew was 87.2. The A-12, Bill Park took it up to 96.2. That's 96,200 feet. And that was over 60 years ago. The airplane is designed to fly at 2,150 miles an hour until it runs low on fuel, which is about every 90 minutes. They have to hook up with a tanker, and it goes through 13,000 gallons of fuel in that time frame. But you've also gone almost 3,000 miles in that same 90 minutes. So on its retirement flight, when they retired the SR-71 in 1990, they flew an SR-71 from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., and it was an hour and 4 minutes. Now, if you do that today, it's going to be a 5-hour flight. But for the first half of the flight, they didn't know if they had a full load of fuel because their fuel gauges malfunctioned. It wasn't until they hit St. Louis that the gauges came up, and they decided to firewall it. And it went from St. Louis to Cincinnati in 8 minutes.
Crazy.
Ben Rich told me that if they had been able to firewall the thing for the entire flight, they didn't have to worry about causing undue wear and tear in the engines, because this is going to be its very last flight. They could have gone. He said they had calculated initially that you would go from coast to coast, L.A. to Washington, D.C. in 47 minutes on its retirement flight. So getting back to when I was at Edwards, I left there, went back to Lowry. From there, I went to Alaska. I got out after a total of 5 years active duty. I'm living in LA, and I still have this bug about the Blackbird. So I write Lockheed Skunk Works, the CIA, Air Force, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Air Force Chief of Staff, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I want to purchase. There's a listing of what, if you're going to go to the film library at DOD, and you want a color 8x10, they're going to charge you, I think it was $6 back in the day. And I had accumulated a war chest of about $70. And I said, I would like 10 photos of different Blackbirds in the air, on the ground. I didn't care where, as long as they were sharp and as long as they were showed the whole airplane. And their official policy back then was not to cooperate. So because they didn't cooperate, I started digging. And the more I dug, the more I found out. The more I found out, the deeper I dug. And got to a point, and this is per Lockheed, that from a historical point of view, no one knows more about the history of the program than me. And that just tickled the heck out of me. And along the way, I got on Ben Rich, who replaced Kelly Johnson at the Skunk Works. I got on his favorite person list. I would call him, or he would call me, about once a quarter for over 20 years. And so fast forward, I'm still fascinated with the Blackbird. I really haven't done anything with it other than build a few model airplanes of it. And it's now 1974, I think it was. I get a call from a friend of mine from the Air Force Museum. His name's Dave Menard. Dave and I went back a long way. And he said, there's a guy from Tester's Model Company was in here. And David known John Andrews for decades. He said, they want to do a model of the Blackbird, a 1/48 scale model of the Blackbird. And he asked me, who's the most knowledgeable person you know that I could talk to on the Blackbird to make sure the kit is accurate? And Dave said, Jim Goodall. So I get a call from John Andrews. I had met him once before at a IPMS, which is International Plastic Modeler Society, a convention. And we just clicked. And he was like my big brother. And we talked every day from 1974 until he passed away in the mid 90s. And because of him, he said, I have a buddy of mine who lives in Las Vegas, and I've known him for 20 years. I think you'll enjoy him. And that was John Lear. I met John Lear in the early 70s, I guess mid 70s. And because of my friendship with John Lear, I met George Knapp from KLAS Channel 8, the CBS affiliate in Las Vegas. And on an adventure in January of '89, I met another special person. I had the Air Force had announced the existence of the stealth bomber, the B-2, and the stealth fighter, the F-117, on the 11th and the 22nd of November, 1988. And I called up John Lear in the first week of January. I said, John, yeah, you want to go looking for the F-117, see if we can see it, see if we can photograph it? He said, sure. So I said, I'll be in town later on this week. So I fly out to Vegas. I lived in Minnesota at the time. And I rented a car. We're heading north out of Las Vegas on US 95, and we're about 2/3 of the way to the town of Tonopah. It's right at 200 miles, and we're just past Scotty's Junction, and an F-117 flew right over us at about 1,500 feet, crossing the highway on about a 45-degree angle. I about crashed the car. I mean, it was like seeing my first UFO. I mean, I knew what I was looking at. It was whoa. So we get into Tonopah. We grab a quick bite. We head east on US 6. You go out about 14 miles. And it's a big, huge sign up there. It says Tonopah Test Range. And you head down that road. You go down 18 miles to the main gate of Tonopah Test Range. And being I was I had gone back into the military. I was in the Air Guard after a couple of years. So I had my military ID, which will get me on almost any base except those that are in a restricted area. So John and I drove, we couldn't get on the base. So we just drove down the fence line, which is public lands. And we're there and you can see the whole base. And anybody out there who wants to see Tonopah Test Range, you can do it today. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it when we're at the SOR function, the 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And we're just waiting for something to happen. And there's all such activity down by the hangars. And I look to the north, and there's a black fuzzy ball with a white light underneath, and then a sort of a bluish, yellowish fuzzy ball, smaller one with a white dot in the middle, which is a landing light. So I figured it was a long final. So this is before digital cameras. I'm shooting with a Nikon, but I'm shooting print film, Kodacolor 100, fine grain photographic film, great color to it. And I have my telephoto lens, and as the airplane's coming up, it's starting to fill up the viewfinder. And all of a sudden I can feel my body vibrating. I was a 10-year-old boy seeing a naked woman for the first time. I mean, I could not stop vibrating. I was just, and I didn't know if I had anything worth a hill of beans. So I said, well, I went through the whole roll and I said, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get into Vegas. I can go buy a photomat. You have to have white hair to know what a photomat is. And that was a little kiosk in a shopping center, a grocery store, or almost anywhere. It was the same color as a Kodak. It was the orange and yellow and red. And you wouldn't even have to get out of your car. They'd hand you an envelope, you put your name on it, you rip the claim check off it, put your film in it, hand it to them, and come back the next day. As it turns out, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days. And I have this film. I don't know what I have, and I'm just having a hard time of it. So we leave the fence line at Tonopah Test Range, and we head east on US 6. You get to Warm Springs, and that's the northern terminus of the extraterrestrial highway, Nevada Highway 375.
Yeah.
And we head south about almost 100 miles. And there's the thriving metropolis of Rachel. I think the population then was 88 people. But the most important aspect, it had the little alien that at the time was run by both Joe and Pat Travis. And she since turned the running of the little alien over to her daughter, Connie. And had a quick bite, and we're heading off to Vegas. And I know we're not going to get there until all the photomats will be closed. So I'm losing another day, and I was really frustrated. But as we're heading to Vegas, John Lear said, I have a new friend. He just moved here from Albuquerque. I think you'll like him. He's going to be coming to the house probably shortly after we get there. So we get there about 9:15 in the evening, and we're there not more than 10 minutes, and knocking the door. Lear goes and answers the door, and I'm in his dungeon or his man cave, like no place I've ever been in my life. And John escorts this guy in and introduces him. He said, this is my friend, Bob Lazar. He just moved here from Albuquerque. He's waiting for his clearance to be upgraded. He had a Q clearance, but he needed something higher than that for something he was to do out in the desert. So I told him about my dilemma with the print film, and he said, "Hey, I have a photo processing unit at my house on the other side of town. John lives just south of Nellis, and the backdrop was Sunrise Ridge, with that beautiful mountain that you always see when you see shots from Nellis." So Bob lived off of West Charleston. So we jump in his car, and we're about a block or so from Lear's place. And Lazar looks at me. He said, I really feel sorry for that son of a bitch, Lear. I said, what do you mean? I said, he's from this world famous aviation family. He said, my God, his dad brought Learjet to the world. And plus a lot of other avionics related stuff. And he said, and that dumb son of a bitch believes in UFOs. How stupid is that? I said, I'm a physicist. If I can't prove it mathematically or put my hands on it, it doesn't exist. Okay, fast forward to this particular trip right here. This was last year. There's my buddy John. And Bob Lazar has a photographic memory. And I last May when I was there, I said, okay, do you remember what you told me when we first met? He said, you mean that I didn't believe in UFOs? I said, precisely. I said, yeah, I remember that. And yes, I didn't believe in UFOs. You couldn't put a gun to my head to convince me that UFOs were real. And the rest of Lazar's story is history. But because I've been around such a long time and I could do things that you can't do today. I had the honor to be John Lear's friend for over 45 years. I've been Bob Lazar's friend for over 35 years. I have, we're to the point, Lear and I, one of the stories with John Lear, this is 1996. The F-117s were back from Desert Storm. They relocated to Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. But there was still a lot of activity at Tonopah Test Range. So John Lear and I head out one evening, and we drive down the fence line at Tonopah Test Range. We set up our lawn chairs. You don't want to sit on the ground. The scorpions will crawl up your pant legs or whatever. So you always tape the cuff of your pants to your boot to keep the critters from going up your pant legs. We had Generation 1 night vision goggles. So we're sitting there just sort of enjoying all the activity down at the main hangar complex. And all of a sudden I noticed that there were 3 armored personnel carriers with their lights turned off heading towards us. One coming up from the south, one coming from the east, one coming from the west. So I stand up and yell real loud, hey, we're good guys, we're taxpayers. And all of a sudden, floodlights and 3 little red dots on my chest. John had 3 little red dots in his chest. And at the same time, there was a vehicle coming down the public land side, parked behind Lear's pickup truck. This guy comes out, he's in desert utilities. He has his hand on his 9mm Beretta. And he says, you're in a restricted area and I'm ordering you to leave. And I said, sir, I don't know who you are, but this is public lands and I don't need your permission to be here. I said, you're in a restricted area and I am ordering you to leave. And he's getting really testy. I said, well, who are you? So, well, I'm Captain so-and-so with ASI, stood for Advanced Security, Inc. And very politely and with minimal respect, I said, well, you're a rent-a-cop. You don't have jurisdiction on this side of the fence. And he's getting really, really pissed. I said, I want to see some ID. I said, I don't have to show you squat. I said, I want to see some ID. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. So he hands me his ASI badge. And I said, sir, that's not a valid form of ID. I need something issued by the state or federal government. and you can see his jaws are tightened up. The veins in his head are popping out. I'm waiting for the man to have a heart attack. I didn't want him to have a heart attack, but the level of anxiety and irritation was at warp 10. So he begrudgingly handed me his Nevada driver's license. I lived in Minnesota at the time. I pulled out my Minnesota license. Lear had his and handed it to him. We still have the floodlights on us and the little red dots. He takes them, he hands it to a guy on the south side of the fence. He goes over to the supervisor's armored personnel carrier, hands him. By now it's about 11:30 at night. Hands him to the supervisor. He turns the interior light on. And you may have to bleep this, but this is exactly what the supervisor said. Oh shit, it's Goodall and Lear. The lights went off, the lights went away, and everybody dispersed. So I'm not anymore because it's 1996. That's almost how many years ago?
30 almost.
Almost 30 years ago. So everybody that worked there at the time that knew me or knew of me have either retired or died, one of the two. But it's just something I've always liked to be a thorn in the side of our government. When I wrote the very first book on the F-117, that was actually the first book I ever wrote. I hated term papers in school. I hated writing anything. And what do I have now? 29 books in print. including the 5.5 pound one I sent you.
Beautiful book. Yeah. And it's the same one Bob Lazar is holding there in the photo. Jim, these are obviously icons in this field. You're talking about John Lear, Bob Lazar, two of the top, period.
John Andrews came out with, from testers, Bob Lazar's sports model.
Yeah. I don't know if I have an image of that.
And John was as crazy as I am when it came to Area 51 and things that go bump in the night. But I've interviewed him and talked to virtually every pilot that had crashed an SR-71 or an A-12 or a YF-12. I've interviewed all the original test pilots. I was befriended by Ben Rich, who was Kelly Johnson's he was his number one man. He was number two position, but number one man. And you can't see it because there's Kelly, but the previous shot, the backdrop is Area 51 taken Christmas Day 2021. So that's within 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years old, that one right there. And there's a lot of stuff. The small little building in the center on the right-hand side, that's a scoot and hide. If they're out doing something and a satellite's going to come over, or there's a wayward airplane flying over the area, they can taxi right into that area. The hangar down by the lower left-hand side, it's about a mile from any other facility, and no one has been able to explain exactly why. And it may be that they're loading some real nasty chemicals or something into the weapons, or there's something that if someone got a whiff of something, it could be damaging to them. So that is one of the anomalies, and it just gives you a good idea of the base. The one that the three of us were in on the previous shot gives a wider view of the area of the base. And now I took this on top of Whitesides before they took it away, and you can just see how big the facility is, and it's and the little patch down at the bottom that was in Popular Science. Stu Brown did March of '94. he did an issue of Popular Science on Area 51, and I designed the patch for the piece. My face appears in 6 different photos in the article, and it's the largest circulation ever for a Popular Science issue. They figure 6 million people read it, and we had my Area 51 patch was for sale in the Pentagon gift store when I was there on Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Wow.
And a lot of, some people say, well, Bob Lazar isn't who he says he is. And I say, baloney. He's exactly who he says he is. There I'm with my handsome son, James. And that's how we become low observables. You can't see us from the air. And you can't see us from the roads. And we spent a week out there. We didn't see anything that we didn't know what it was. But my son was 15. He's now 48. Jeez. But we had just had a wonderful time, and I'm blessed to have one of the most wonderful sons on the planet. And he is truly a James Goodall. He has my sense of humor. And then a number of years ago, when I was working for the Museum of Flight there at Payne Field in Everett, Washington, and I was living on Whidbey Island, my son James and my grandson James came out to give me a visit. So I took him over to the Restoration Center, and we're walking back. It's a 3-bay hangar, and we're walking at the very back of it, heading towards where a bunch of guys were working on some stuff on the B-29. And they looked and they started laughing at us. I said, "What are you guys laughing at?" He said, "Jim Goodall, small, medium, and large." He said, "You guys walk the same. You carry yourself the same way." So, and there we are. This is another different time. Again, you cannot see us from the air. That's infrared suppressive camouflage netting, and it blends in perfectly with the environment.
It definitely does.
Yeah, and this is actually a Toyota Land Cruiser. When we were up on the top of the Groom Range, and we're overlooking. We can see anything that takes off from Area 51, and you go down the back road to the Groom Mine. Well, we knew where the sensors were, and we pulled off before. And we'd been up there for 2 days. Nothing exciting happened. Glenn Campbell, who ran the Area 51 Research Center, he's since passed away. He goes past where we turned off, and he sets off one of the sensors. Then he realizes, no, we have to go back. So he parks his little piece of junk car with all his stickers and stuff on it just off the road, and he climbs up to where we're at. All of a sudden, now this is an interesting photo. The guy in the black jacket on the left with the dark glasses, that's Stu Brown from Popular Science. That's me with the red hat. The guy behind me is the commandant for the Tulare Police Department, Tom Luttrell. He's since passed away. Guy in the red hoodie is Glenn Campbell, who ran the Area 51 Research Center. He has since passed away. The guy in the blue and black ski jacket or whatever it is, that's Bob Dylan, the first guy to fly the SR-71. He was a friend of mine as well. And he's since passed away. And then on the far right is my dear friend, John Andrews. And of those 6 people, the only 2 that are surviving are Stu Brown and myself. But Bob Dylan said he ran up to the top. It's 2,000 feet. You start off at about 4,000 feet at the valley floor, and the top of Whitesides is about 6,200 feet. So, and it's all loose volcanic rock. I mean, it's a real bear to go up. You're slipping and sliding. You don't want to wear good shoes because you'll just boots. You'll just tear them apart with the lava rock. And if you notice behind on the ground, you can't see it very well. That's snow. And we spent the night on top. John Andrews, myself, everybody else left, and it got down to 21 degrees with about a 20-mile-an-hour wind all night long. We froze our butts off, but it was fun. And if I could do it again, I would do it. But I'd been on top of Whitesides like 6 or 7 times. But Glenn Campbell and I, he did most of the work, but we ended up finding Freedom Ridge, where you didn't have to climb anywhere. You could go. You never had to get out of your car. And as we're working our way, we're listening to radio traffic, and we can hear them. So, oh my God! They said they're almost to the top. Oh Jesus! This could be just like a freaking drive-in movie. And they were really getting pissed off at us, and that's why they took the 4,000 acres a couple of years later, is because of yours truly. And of course, Glenn was involved in that too. So, but when we're up at the top at about 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden we had flashlights in our eyes, and there were 8 of us up there. One of them was the chief of police of Tulare, California. The other guy, Tom Luttrell, was the commandant. I can't remember Dave's last name, but he was a chief detective for homicide. And then one other cop, it was Stu Brown, Glenn Campbell, myself, and 1 or 2 other people. And Stu Brown was using the camera bag as a pillow. He said, "Here's a camera in there. I want to see it." And I stepped in and said, the 4 cops or the 3 cops, I can't remember, 3 or 4. They didn't say a word. They're just listening to everything. And he said they tramped all over our civil rights when they were doing what they were doing. And I said, "Do you have a search warrant?" He said, "Well, no." "Well, if you have nothing to hide," I said, "do you have a search warrant?" "No." He said, "Well, the answer is no." And Stu says, "Yeah, the answer is no." So I want to see some ID. So I want to see yours. But handed me is the Lincoln County Sheriff, Tom. I'm trying to remember his name. Can't remember right off, but it's only been 30 some odd years.
Yeah, right.
I gave him my Minnesota license, and he said, "Jim Goodall, why does that name sound familiar?" And then I heard on the radio, "It's that son of a bitch again." So I said, "So what are you doing up here?" I said, "We're bird watching, and we have every right to be here. And there's nothing you say or do that will make us get off this mountaintop." So, but the only thing I probably personally, and with John Lear's help, we probably cost the United States government and spooky programs people in the millions of dollars in canceled flight tests. I'm Stu Brown, Warren James, who is actually a rocket scientist, Bill Sweetman, who worked at Aviation Week, and he's now with Northrop Grumman, and myself, we're getting a tour of the Nevada test site. And we're at the Sedan crater. That's the one that's about 1,300 feet across and 400 feet deep. And it pumped up 12 million cubic yards of radioactive dust. They put I think it was a 20 or 30 kiloton nuke down 400 feet to see. It was called Operation Plowshare. And they would see if they could actually build a canal through the Isthmus of Panama, not in Panama, but probably in Nicaragua, because there were all sorts of problems with the government of Panama at the time. And they were going to see if they could build a ocean level channel through the jungle. And they realized that they irradiated everything for about 1,400 square miles with the dust, because it was just really radioactive stuff. But I hear a crack in the radio. You have a Jim Goodall in that group? And the guy goes, yes, we do. I said, get him inside the building. You got 10 minutes. So we get marshaled into the control center for the Nevada test site. And there's a big map. Oh, shit. I'm Italian, or Sicilian. I talk with my hands.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. There's a big, huge map up there of state of Nevada and part of Utah, a little bit of Arizona. And there's these 10-mile square grids starting with Area 1 going all the way over to Area 200. It just so happens that where Groom Dry Lake is, that happens to be square or area number 51. Mm-hmm. The one to the west would be Area 50. The one to the east would be Area 52. So that's how Area 51 got its name. It happened to be, that was the designation on the map that tracks fallout from nuclear weapons detonation. So it's just, I've just had a hell of a good time. And then I've always been interested in all kinds of machines. So I decided, I want airplanes are really cool. But once you've really dug into them, most of the general public have an idea what you're looking at. So I decided that the first stealth warfighting machines were submarines. And I had friends, well, how in the hell can you be with the B-2 stealth bomber, the Blackbird, the F-117, and now you're interested in submarines? Well, I said, I was interested in submarines before I even knew about the other ones. I said, but they meet all my criteria. They're black, they're stealth, and they're deadly. And so that's why I focused my energy. And I did a book on the Los Angeles class and the Los Angeles class improved. It's called the I boats, or the 688 I's. And in volume 1, I also covered Know Your Adversary. So I covered the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Iranian submarines. And then the next, volume 2 was on the Seawolf class and the Virginia class fast attacks. And volume 3, I haven't finished yet because I'm waiting to get on an SSGN. That's the Arsenal boat version of the Ohio boats. But I've been on 22 nuclear-powered submarines. It's not bad for an Air Force guy. And the one right in the center, Nautilus to Columbia class, that's my newest book. That's book number 29. And it covers all 227 nuclear-powered submarines built for or under construction for the United States Navy, starting with the Nautilus in 1954. And Columbia, they've laid the keel, but they haven't really started nothing looks like a submarine yet. And that's going to replace the Ohio boats. So along with the Blackbirds, of course, I had an interest in the stealth bomber. I have this distinction of being the only person in my neighborhood to have flown the B-2 simulator. I've been in the cockpit of a B-2. I photographed every square inch of one. He said, the only thing we don't want you to shoot the exhaust ejector. I was the first civilian to photograph this thing, the F-117. And Ben Ritz said this is his pride and joy. This was the most, even though it has no rounded surfaces and theoretically it shouldn't fly, Ben said this was the best flying airplane ever to come out of the Skunk Works. Says as you move the throttle up, you don't even have to touch the stick at about 100, I think it was 137 knots. The nose wheel lifts off and you become airborne. The airplane has a radar cross section smaller than a bumblebee.
Wow.
I mean, the size of your thumbnail. That's the radar cross section of the F-117. And the reason why 99.99% of radiated energy that comes from a radar dish will hit the surface, and they're all flat surfaces, and they reflect it away. And that stuff that doesn't get reflected away is absorbed in the radar absorption material that they applied to the F-117. And it was it looked like neoprene, that rubbery material with an adhesive back. And I'll show you just 1 second.
Yep. Definitely. And to give some context on that, Jim said he was the first one to take a picture of that. And that's because Jim was part of a group who used to, hang around.
Turn the light on just a second.
Yeah, take your time, Jim. Who had to take, who used to hang out on the fence lines of a secret facility like Area 51. This is obviously prior to it being admitted that it was a real place or acknowledged by the government. And they used to sit out there and take pictures of different craft. One of them turned out to be the F-117 before it was announced.
Now, I'm assuming this is classified. This is a piece of RAM used on the F-117. It has an adhesive back. You can see this sort of a seam up here, and you peel it back and you stick it on.
Wow.
And a buddy of mine who was one of the first guys on the F-117 program sent me this. So I have pieces of crashed XB-70s. I have pieces of crashed F-117s, crashed Blackbirds, crashed U2. And those for some of the airplane crazy guys that I hang with. And it's just fun. So here I've spent most of my life snooping on the government, trying to find information on classified programs that, as an American taxpayer, I have every right to ask the question.
Exactly.
And when I was activated at the Pentagon during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, my job, I was an Air Force historian, and my job was to read every single message going to and from CENTCOM to the Pentagon. So if Schwarzkopf saw it or the president saw it, I saw it. And the most incredible message I ever saw came from Margaret Thatcher, and it was copied to members of Congress, a whole bunch of other people, the President of the United States, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all members of senior military staff. And it was President Saddam Hussein, Islamic Republic of Iraq, number 1 Main Street, Baghdad, or whatever the address was. And he said, President Saddam Hussein, if for any reason you use chemical, biological, or nuclear agents on the coalition forces or your own people, period, and they spelled out period, the United Kingdom will retaliate with a full-fledged nuclear strike on Baghdad within 24 hours. I get goosebumps when I say that. Signed, Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister, with full concurrence of Parliament.
Wow.
And I was so tempted to make a copy of that for myself, but I couldn't. I just, even though I like to snoop on spooky stuff and I try to weasel my way into classified stuff, I'm not gonna violate security. If somebody wants to give me something, that's their problem. But I'm not gonna break the law. And most of the people within the spooky programs were aware of that. But one of the fascinating things that I did when I was in the Pentagon during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, I had Bob Lazar's W2. It was in my back pocket. I had blocked out. There's John and Bob, long time ago. And I always kept it. I had it in my back pocket because I was going to see if I can find the Department of Navy that was paying him when he worked at S4. And one day it was a down day, and there was nothing going on. I forget what was, why I had nothing else to do, but I sat down on a Pentagon computer, and I'm looking for the Department of Navy that paid Bob when he was at S4, and it's not listed in the Pentagon directory. So I said, I'll go to Naval Investigative Services. I think that's where I went. So I'm in uniform. At the time, I'm an E6. I have all my ribbons, fresh haircut, shine shoes, go in there, and doors open. I walk in there, and there's a young Lieutenant JG behind the desk. And I said, sir, can you tell me where this Department of the Navy is located? And I hand him Bob's W2. He looks at it and says, excuse me, Sergeant, I'll be right back. He goes into the 2-star's office. 15, 20 seconds later, he comes out and said, the Admiral will see you now. Now, anybody who's been in the Navy or been in the military and is familiar with flag officers towards enlisted people, especially an Air National Guard enlisted puke. And that's how he looked at me. So I go in there and I give him a sharp salute. He doesn't say at ease. He said, parade rest. And I'm standing there, parade rest. He's trembling. He said, Sergeant, I don't know where you got this piece of paper, but if I ever see your face cross the threshold of my office ever again, you'll be the most sorriest son of a bitch in NCO in the United States military. Do you understand me, Sergeant? I said, yes, sir. And with that, he took Bob's W2 and put it in the shredder. He said, you're dismissed. I walked out of there and said, whoa, did I ever pull his chain? So is Bob real? Yes, he is real. And I've been working with Luigi in Montreal on the new Gravitas documentary on Bob. I'm listed as a technical advisor, which tickles me. And they haven't nailed it down yet, but they're working to see if they can get the Sphere in Las Vegas for the world premiere.
Oh,
nice. And if they do, I have VIP tickets. I told it, I said, I need one for Michael Schratt. He's like my kid. And he said, not a problem. I said, well, I have a couple other friends that would like to go. And he said, you tell me how many you want and I'll send them to you. And I had like a 4-hour interview with Luigi here on a couple, it was last year sometimes. So it's this, even Bob, when he saw some of the clips that he hadn't seen before, he said it was so real, he could feel that he was in the hangar.
That's what I wanted to hear. I was going to ask you about that because I know you're close with this whole situation, and I was going to ask you about the delay. So you answered that actually, and with that premiere on the Sphere in Las Vegas, that would be the most outstanding, outrageous place to have a Bob Lazar special. Heck yeah!
And and there's actually 3 parts to it. There's the movie, and then there are 2 other events, and Bob said it's either going to blow up in our face, literally, or it's going to set the world on fire. I mean, people are going to be absolutely dumbfounded. I said, well, did it have anything to do with Element 115? And he just smiled. I said, you mean you have enough? And he smiled even harder. So I don't know if they built a UFO and they're going to fly it or not. But they'll tell me when the time is right. And I don't release anything on the Gravitas movie or any part of it unless I get it directly. If Luigi sends it to me, then I send it out. Mm-hmm. But once I leave the SOR function in Reno, I'm driving 4 hours north to Bob Lazar's. I'm going to spend 2 or 3 days with him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do a video tour of his lab, and I'll post it and see if I can get anything else out of them. There's a, yeah, I have my T-shirt. I have my was it United Nuclear T-shirt I got from Bob, and I'm gonna have him sign. I'm gonna have him autograph it, and I may just put it in the frame and not touch it.
Exactly.
And there's some stuff I'm going to do for some friends. Said, hey, can you get Bob just to sign something and send it to me? I said, well, I'll get him to sign it and I'll send it to you. But it'll be from Lazar. And Bob has the sweetest wife. I just love Joy. She is just she's I think she's gonna be 71 this year. She looks like she's 35. And I've never seen Bob so happy. Bob's a real quiet guy. He's a real soft-spoken, a real easygoing guy. And you can tell just how smart he is by what he does and what he doesn't do. And I can sense it. My dad had an IQ of 175 plus. Wow. I mean, he was admitted as a freshman to Caltech. Caltech is a postgraduate university. And I think the freshman class that he was in was less than 100. And most everybody there at Caltech is postgraduate work. Mm-hmm. So I know what smart people are like. And you hang around with Bob for 10 minutes, you get that same sense. Yeah. The guy's bright. He's very humble. The only thing when I was there, Joy was a little bit miffed because one of their dogs spent all his time next to me, not her. So I attract the dogs, I guess. Yeah. Or I've gone to the dogs, one of the two. But the next thing, of course, this is S5. He worked at S4. So now he works at S5. And he's going to dummy up one of the hand scanners. He's going to have it at the front door. Just to add a little bit more to the mystique. And he may have it by now. Someone offered him or showed him, it looks like a flying saucer. It's on a pedestal, and it looks just like a flying saucer with windows down one side and stairs leading up to a door. And that's going to be his guest house. And I may be the first person to stay in it. I don't know. So, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I'll tell you what, legends keep company of legends, man. And it doesn't get any bigger than that. I know we got you in Reno coming up here, Jim. So I know I'm sure be a part of that live show on that Friday.
The other thing about Reno, I'm bringing a bunch of books with me. All the hardbound books you saw, the Blackbird book that I'm holding, my 75 years of the Skunk Works books those 6 books on top, they're all hardbound, and I'm bringing a whole bunch of all of those. So if you want it, I only take cash. If you get more than 2, I'll give you a deal. And but I'm going to be bringing a lot of books. And if you have any of my books, if you can bring them with you, I'll sign them if you purchased them, or if I sent it, if someone sent you one or whatever. So no, I'm very, very proud of that. And Jeff Babion, who was the 10th head of the Skunk Works, he's now retired. He said he had 2 books in his man cave that no one was allowed to touch. My SR-71 Blackbird book from Shepherd Publishing, and my 75 years of Skunk Works from Osprey Publishing. And if you can't make it to Reno and you want one of my books or all of my books, go to Amazon, books by James C. Goodall, and you can order them there. If you're a Prime member, you don't pay for shipping. My Skunk Works book is 5.5 pounds. The Naughtiest to Columbia class, that's 4.5 pounds. and the other ones are pound and a half, 2 pounds each. So there's a lot of we sacrifice a lot of trees for my books, but I'm really excited.
Quality.
But the other thing we haven't touched on, are we going to be on for another hour after this?
We aren't, unfortunately. We have Jax coming in for hour 3.
Okay.
And that I would love to have you, Jim. I would love to keep you longer. How about this? Let's pick this up on the live show in Reno.
Okay, and I'll talk about Belize.
Okay. I'll set it up. I'll curate your clips and everything, and we'll make sure it's a show for sure. I wish I had more time with you, Jim. I love it. Man, we do this all the time. We've done 3-hour shows, me and you, multiple times, so we could definitely, this conversation could continue to go. But I do have to reel it in, and we'll save something for them for Reno. And you guys tune in. Make sure you tune in on that Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific for the live show with Jim Goodall and along with a lot of other guests, as you see right here on the screen. Jim, thank you so much for coming in. I can't wait to meet you in Reno and conversate with you in person. This is about to happen, and I just can't wait, man.
Well, anytime you would like me on, you let me know. And as long as I'm, it doesn't conflict with something, some other program I'm on, or if I'm in the jungles of Belize, I can't help you. But other than that, I'm in for any time you want me on.
All right, Jim, I'm gonna hold you to that. It's been too long. Like I said, we did the New Year's show, which was awesome. And I look back and I'm like, wow, it's been almost 5 months since then. We're long overdue for this, and we will keep the conversation going. Jim, thanks for your time tonight. We will see each other and talk very soon.
Sounds good. All good. Right. Rob,
enjoy. Have a good rest of your night. You take care, sir. And from the audience, I know they love you. They're all saying thank you, Jim Goodall.
My pleasure.
Have a good rest of your night, Jim. See you soon.
I really will do. Take care.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Awesome conversation with Jim Goodall, the legend Jim Goodall, right? The legend, as it says right here on the bottom of the screen, the legend Jim Goodall joins us. Always awesome conversation. Can't wait to do it. Can't wait to meet Jim in person, right? Lucky me. I get to meet Jim out in Reno, along with the person we're bringing in for hour 3 here, which we'll be talking to in just a moment here, guys. So you guys don't go anywhere. Stick around as we get into take a pause for the cause and get ready to jump into hour 3 right here on Spaced Out Radio. Just hang back. See you in just a minute. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, as we continue this awesome show tonight. And I want to thank once again Jim Goodall for coming on in and joining us tonight. Awesome conversation with Jim. Also, for the space travelers out there, since you're already a space traveler, consider taking the next step and joining the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. We would appreciate if you did that. And also go pick up some swag. We don't have ugly swag. You can get that at spacedoutradio.com/shop. Going to get yourself a Rob G Alien Head t-shirt. That's this guy right up here. This logo right on the t-shirt. And if you bring it to Reno, I mean, who knows? I mean, I just want to see who out there is decided to get the Rob G swag. We'll take a look and we'll see and show you live during the broadcast in Reno. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and jump into what we're doing for hour 3. We're bringing in a person here who will be heading our paranormal report on Sundays now for hour 3 going forward. Also hour 3 here, and then also Tuesdays with Dave Scott. So I'll introduce this person here, and then Travis Musus will be moving over to Saturdays and kind of alternating out with Brian Bowden. So we'll still have our Travis doses as we go ahead and welcome our newest addition to Spaced Out Radio, the team, Sundays, none other than someone you're familiar with. It is Jax Harmon. Jax, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Of course, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
No,
I'm so excited to be part of SOR now.
Man, that's what I'm saying. So hour 3 going forward, Sundays and Tuesdays, Jax will be heading off the Paranormal Report. Was so excited to have her joining us and bringing her energy and knowledge to the table. So Jax, we're going to kick it off this first week. What do we have going on? What are we getting into?
Well, for tonight's show, I was actually thinking about this. The last couple of days, I've been having these experiences that we all have, which is when we see these, visions or like shadow things out of the corner of our eye. And we all do it. We all see it. And a lot of people kind of think like, oh, what was that? Did I see something? Was that a bug? Was that a shadow? You're kind of always trying to figure out what it was. And yet you find yourself kind of brushing it off, But these are truly things that we're seeing. We're not hallucinating. It's not something that we're imagining. We really do see these things. And what's happening is you're actually getting like a sneak little peek of like a second of maybe, someone coming in to say hello. Like you and I've actually talked about this before about shadow figures. And it's very similar to that where, you'll see it and then it's like, well, what did I just see? And it always kind of makes you stand there for a second and look or wonder, what's going on? What was that? Because sometimes you'll actually hear a little noise with it as well. So, it's very common for people and everybody, like I said, everybody does this. So what's happening is you're actually interacting with the other side. And it's just like a piece of them coming in to say hello. They're there, they're gone. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was the frequencies, the vibrations of the living and the dead, because they share energy, we share energy, and there's energy all around us. So as people, when you're very happy and easygoing, you have a very high vibration, and if you're someone who's sad or lonely or depressed or have a lot of anxiety, you have a very low vibration. And it depends on like who you are as a person, what you're giving off, of what you're also attracting. So that has a lot to do with what it is that we're seeing. You might see something, and in that moment, it might actually maybe even scare you a little bit, So you have to think about like what it is, what's going on around you, what's going on with you, you in a good place. And I'm not saying everyone has to be on a high all the time of emotion. Like, I'm a very high energy person, but there's also days when I have very low emotions or sad or whatever from something that's going on in my life. Right. But, and this is all around us. We're surrounded by the energy. So if it is something, in fact, that does scare you, you have the right as a living human to say, I'm not comfortable with that. Please don't come here anymore. Because I know there are like a lot of children, even some adults that I know that'll say, I see things out of the corner of my eye and I always wonder what is going on. Am I seeing something for real, or is it just my mind playing tricks on me? And so a lot of people now are doing videos. Like, I'm sure you probably have video. Like a lot of people have videos set up in their homes now. And they're actually catching these things happening. So it's like, it's that backup of evidence that's proving like, I'm not a crazy person. Because a lot of people do think that. So, and I was actually talking to someone today about this, and it's very common to have the exact same situations going on, like out in the woods, or, it doesn't matter really where you are. It could be in your home. It could be at work. It could be anywhere. But we will all have these experiences. I don't know one person on earth who can say, I've never seen anything out of the corner of my eye, or I've wondered what that was, or did I actually see that? We're always questioning ourselves. But in fact, you really don't have to question yourself. If you think you're seeing something, you probably are seeing something. Because the spirit world is it's like when someone passes on, it's very much like when you're living. The dead will move on, but it's like they go in stages. If they leave here and they're very happy and they're ready to completely move on and accept everything that happened in their life, and they're just, ready to go, they'll go to the light. But there's a lot of people who will often leave with depression, high anxiety, sadness, and they'll almost put themselves in a state of not even ready to move on. Like there's a lot of people who carry anger, and it's like they'll get to a place where they're confused. And that's a lot of times the people that we're seeing out of the corner of our eye is that energy that's kind of left back, and a lot of times you almost have to help them by saying, you're good. If you want to, you can go to your angels and move on, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like go to the light and move on. I've actually had this experience in my whole life where I'll see things and I'll often wonder myself, like, did I actually see that? And the paranormal is a part of my life. So, we're always questioning ourselves. But at the end of the day, you have to realize like that it's just the energy of the past, the energy of the future. It's the energy of the living and the dead. And we're always surrounding each other. So it's just a combination of all those things happening, but it's not like they're here to scare us. It's not like they're here to freak us out or anything like that. A lot of times you may know them, you may not. Like, for instance, you were telling me before about the shadow man in your house that I saw, and I don't know how you feel about it now after we talked about it. But a lot of times, just a conversation alone can put somebody's mind at ease.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at with like just trying to make people understand, like, yeah, you might see something. It might be something, maybe you're, in your bathroom and you see something move, or in your room or your living room, your kitchen, wherever it is, and you see something. It doesn't necessarily mean there's something negative around you. It could actually be something very positive. It could just be a family member just like checking on you.
Okay.
Our spirit guides are always around us. We're surrounded by our spirit guides, our energy. But like I said, some do get stuck where they're in a state of confusion and they need that little bit of help to move on. Sometimes it's their own help that they need, but in the same, time period of that, you don't really know what's going on as a human, because we, as human beings, don't really have all the answers, obviously, or we wouldn't even be doing these shows.
Right.
I mean, a lot of us are just kind of going off of like our, experiences, things that we've learned over the years. I've been having paranormal experiences myself since the age of 4. We're talking almost 50 years for me. And that's quite a long time to have a lot of these experiences. But what happens with our vibrations, like I was saying earlier, is we often forget that we share our homes, our workplace, and even people that we hang out with. We share their energy. So if you do what?
I was going to ask you that. The frequency, if it ties to if it isn't necessarily your frequency that is bringing in, but frequencies around you, other people in the house.
Exactly, because you really do have to look at what's happening. Is it positive or negative, and who are you around? Because for instance, like when you live in a home with, and this is an actual true fact that this happens, but like say you live in a home with a bunch of women. Okay, like say you have like one husband and a wife, and they've got like 4 daughters, and they're older, like growing teenagers. And well, eventually what happens is everyone in that house will end up, all the women will end up on the same cycle eventually, because we kind of all share the same, like it kind of all just comes together eventually. And so that's kind of the same thing with our energy, with our vibrations. And so you have to think about like who's in your home, who's in your workspace, who's in your friend group, what are they going through? Is someone going through a horrible time? Is maybe something horrible happened in their life? Maybe it's something to do with them. It could be anxiety, depression, like I said, all these different things. And that alone can bring in something that has nothing to do with you, but you can also be having the experience. So it's really just a matter of reminding yourself of everyone who's around you. And you can't always keep everybody happy all the time. But if there is something going on around you or in your world or in your home, and you're wondering like, okay, say maybe someone's wife or husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever is going through a very difficult time and they're very, sad, and their emotions are all over the place, or maybe they fight a lot. Okay, that has a lot to do with it as well. It doesn't have to personally be like an emotional low. It can be a lot of arguing and fighting and negative, but it's not just the emotional. It's like you have to have good health, wellness, take good care of yourself, and always try to keep up with positive stuff. But there's, like I said, we're human. There's going to be times when we don't feel like that. And oftentimes we'll find ourselves going through a difficult time, or someone around us is going through a difficult time, and that might pick up activity. So you may start to notice things. And I notice that a lot of times when I start noticing the things, the shadows and the different things that I see and hear around me, I'll often have weird dreams at the same time. So I think they kind of go hand in hand with like what we're going through, how we're feeling, what we're thinking about. And I think that sort of like surfaces in your dreams because it's just thoughts we're thinking about and what we're going through. And if you really sit and think about like what happened in your dream, it kind of all makes sense over usually things you've been talking about or thinking about over the last several days. Yeah. So it's interesting.
It makes me think when you say that, so because my thing was so far back, I can't remember what the mood was or the energy was at the time, but it's interesting that you bring that up because now it makes me think about, was there an argument that day? Was I not feeling so great about something, which is why this happened, or why we were able to capture that? So that's interesting. But then I would want to ask about the seeing the things outside of your eyes, in your peripheral. So is this usually how these shadows are seen, or is usually out of the peripheral and you never actually see an image like the one that I showed?
Well, certain people do see things like it's more rare to see them in full form. Okay. But people do. It's just not as often as we do see things out of the corner of our eye. And the reason why we see it out of our peripheral vision more often is because, like I said before, we are surrounded at all times by energy. We are energy. We're surrounded by everything that's energy. And we all share that energy. So, when you're in a home, and like I said earlier, the point about like the fighting and all that, it's not necessarily going to be like maybe you're a super happy person and then one day you have a fight with somebody. It's really not like that. It's more like if it's like chronic fighting and habitual, arguing, and someone just being super negative all the time. Like this is something that's like usually going on all the time. But the sad part about it is that a lot of times that will create negative energy, which will bring something in. So you're kind of inviting in that negative side of energy because that's what you're putting out. So it's what you put out is what you get back. And a lot of people don't even think about these things. And like I said about the vibration is like the people who are chronically, feeling depressed and anxiety and all these things, but it's like more chronic, like all the time feeling. Like, it's okay to have, like I said, a bad day, and you're not going to be inviting something negative in your home. And I'm not necessarily saying every single person that goes through this is going to invite something bad in their home, but I'm talking about like hardcore, feeling down all the time. Someone like, you might have someone in your life that's maybe narcissistic behaviors. They're always like starting fights and arguments and anything they can figure out to bring that vibration and energy down. And that's a lot of times when you'll start to see that negative energy, which is what we want to avoid.
Wow. That is huge. That is actually huge. So that is like the negative energy create kind of like manifest these things and kind of makes them real within your world.
Not only does it make it real, but they feed off of it. They feed off of our negativity and our fighting and arguing, and that's what they want from us, like the negative ones, not the positive, the ones that are good or bright light, energy or spirit. But like dark energy craves and thrives off of all of that negativity, all the fighting and the arguing and all of that bad behavior. It's really, really hard, but it is inviting it in, and it does like just feed off of it. Like you're basically just giving it a meal and you're feeding it like, and it's growing.
That is huge. That is huge. And that's going to make me it opens my eyes up to now, folks, because I know people that live in like a habitual, like a 24/7 sort of dark, angry place. And I'm going to have to ask those people if they've experienced anything like this. It'd be interesting to know, because it makes sense that they would feed off of that negativity if they are of the same energy. So that makes a lot of sense. It kind of opens my eyes up to that too. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's sad too, because like a lot of times people won't even realize, because they're in such a dark place, that they're actually doing those things. They don't realize it because they've gone so far down deep into the rabbit hole of ugly, dark, deep pain that sometimes you don't even realize that there's something around you. The energy around you is now growing into that negative energy. And it's a really hard place to live in. That's why as humans, we don't thrive as human beings. When, like, for instance, like when children get bullied or even cyberbullied or anything like that, and you hear all these horrible stories of these kids taking their own lives and things like that, it's just because they get to such a deep, dark place, and that energy is growing and growing and growing, and it's taking over their emotions, their thoughts, everything around them. So it takes people to a really dark place.
Yeah, when you talk about that, it almost makes me think of the way depression feels in a person, and how that feeling, it's almost like what you're describing, these the shadow people that feed off of that. Yes. Seems like they are like a physical form of like that feeling that you feel when you're in that depression sort of thing, if I'm explaining that right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. And so that's interesting though, because now with the baseline, being able to look at that, you'd be able now to kind of monitor people who may be going through that, to see maybe if they connect with those sorts of things.
Exactly.
But then the flip side though, right? So what about the good frequency, the positive energy?
Well,
how do those line up?
That's the best part about it, is it's like this, what is important is educating ourselves and the knowledge of knowing these things, because like I said, there's a lot of us who are normally like that, you know, and but doesn't mean we're all like that. But when you are in that higher frequency and vibration, you know, you're happy, you surround yourself with good people, you have a family and friends that lift you up, and you try to look at the positive over the negative, and just, you know, you kind of just keep going. Like, listen, there's a lot of us just like me that you know, we're not perfect people, and we're not going to be happy every minute of the day. But once you learn that this actually does change the energy around you, it makes you sit and think about it more. It makes you want to make better choices for your surrounding. Like, I have an autistic son, and I also think my daughter might be on the spectrum as well. And, you know, I have to remind myself that I'm also sharing energy with, you know, two kids who may not completely understand that energy. So I'm trying my best to teach them like how to have a very loving, respectful, peaceful home, you know, and make them understand that there's a big reason why that we want to be like that. It's not just about like mom wants her sanity, you know, like, yes, I love it when my kids get along, and there's going to be lots of times when they don't. But, you know, I'm always teaching them that, you know, we share our energy. And when you're in a bad mood, or you guys are fighting or whatever, you're bringing that negative energy into our home. And then, you know, it causes the parent, like, I'm a single parent. So, you know, and then I get aggravated, and then I'm frustrated, and, you know, and I'm like, so I'm always trying to remind them, like, you know, we need to keep ourselves grounded and remind ourselves to be good people, to make good choices, to be happy, to do the best we can to help each other out, to keep those vibrations high, and, you know, have good energy in our home. But, you know, like, I live in a very loving, very happy home with my kids. It's just the three of us. And, but, you know, these are things that my kids are used to now because of me and teaching them. So, but there's a lot of families out there who don't think about things like this. They don't talk about things like this. I mean, you know, talking about energy and sharing energy, that's really not a common thing, which is kind of odd, because that's what we are. You know, we're energy, and we're sharing that with the world. So, and every single person that you come up to, or you walk up to, or you talk to, or you interact with in life, you're sharing the energy. Like, it just blends in, like this aura just sort of kind of blends in as one blob. And that's why we kind of like, you know, have that sixth sense of like something's wrong, or something's, you know, going on with somebody. And that's just, you know, like our gut feeling, but our sixth sense of understanding that. But yeah, the positive is like really where you want to try to remind yourself that you're inviting good by feeling good. So it's, you know, and like I said, the vibrations of, you know, depression, you're obviously going to be down here. Happiness, you're obviously going to have a different vibration here. You know, this is also something that I share when I go into like the woods, for instance, to look for a Sasquatch. I just had a conversation with Lee Strauss. I know you guys know Lee, and we talk a lot about this, but we were just talking about it this morning. And I was just sharing this whole thing about it. And, you know, people really don't talk about this much. It's not really a topic that we bring up very often, but it's funny because that's what we are, you know? Yeah. So it's just a matter of like really educating yourself of like where we are, where we live, and what we're creating for ourselves and our home. So being mindful of that and what you're inviting in.
And it just makes it more tangible, more physical. It's because usually what somebody will say is, you know, being a positive person, putting positive energy out there into the world is how you'll get positive energy back. But there's really no proof of that. It's a thing that people say, but then when you say it like this, then manifesting negative energy can manifest these almost physical entities into your world. When you can see that and realize that, then it makes it more, you can wrap your mind around that thought process a lot
Absolutely.
better. So it's great that you explained it that way.
Well, I love exactly the way you said it right now. And I totally 1,000,000% believe this. I believe in you manifest what you want out of life. You know, you put it into the universe of what it is you want. And you just keep working towards the things that you want. Set goals, even if it's one goal. You know, like I highly recommend everybody, and I tell even my own children, I do it myself. I write down, say, like maybe, 5, 10, 12 things, whatever, however many you want to do. Set goals for yourself, put it out into the universe, and constantly tell yourself, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to set these goals for myself because this is the way I want my life to be. This is the way I want to live. Like, okay, maybe you want to be a millionaire. Okay. A lot of people think like, oh, I can never be a millionaire. I'm never going to be a millionaire. Yes, you can. You can do anything you want. Set your goals, do something about it, and make it happen. There are a lot of ways to do things in life. And for some weird reason, we're the ones who we hold ourselves back. And I'd say 99% of the world does that. It's like we somehow believe we have to be pushed down in believing that we can't have and be in life what we want, who we want to be, what we want to have. Create those things and set those goals and, do whatever you can to make those things happen. No one is holding you back except yourself.
Yeah, and it makes me, more you talk about that, it makes me, because I've heard Billy Carson talk about that, and I've had a chance to meet Billy one time, and I want to interview him because I some of his views I agree with, and he mentioned something about the manifesting that really kind of resonated with me about how how those things actually happen, with those things that you manifest are kind of drawn into you, and that's kind of how they happen. I know I'm murdering the way that he said it, but
You're not.
essentially what he was saying is that that's how you don't just think, you think about it, but then those things are drawn into you and then become a reality essentially. And so I really appreciate that. And kind of going back now, because I've talked about my own shadow thing to a bunch of different people because I'm trying to figure it out. But then when you bring up the whole energy aspect of it, now it has me even rethinking that, or kind of going back, because I'm thinking paranormal, what could be tied to someone died there, but it could simply be attached to something as simple as the energy that's going on at the time. So now I have to kind of even go back and rethink about that. I mean, the entity is obviously real and there, but thinking about the reasons why it's there, you know what I mean? So you kind of have opened me up to that right now, and I'll keep you posted, but it's definitely giving me another path to look down now.
Well, I'll give you guys an example of one time in my life that was very, very difficult. I was actually living in a home in the South, and I was 100% convinced from day one that there was paranormal. Well, for me, there's paranormal activity no matter where I live, but this was like extremely negative paranormal activity, like to the point of really scary things, being grabbed, being pushed. My 2-year-old son was drug off the bed sideways while I was laying next to him. Just a lot of different things, lots and lots of things. And I could go on for hours about the things that went on in this home. But it was a very hard time for me because I was going through some very difficult marital issues. And I don't really talk about these things very often because, like, I'm in such a good place. I'm such a happy person. I don't dwell on things from the past. These aren't things that, like, once things are done, I wash my hands of it and I move on. And I'm an extremely blessed individual, meaning I am happy. I love life. I'm just very positive about the world. That's just who I am. That's the way I live. I live every day like it could possibly be my last. And, I'm just smart about it, but I'm just a happy person. And what was going on was because of the horrific like negative stuff going on in my marriage, I was having the worst paranormal stuff going on around me, like massively dark energy, to the point it was like really scaring me, it was scaring my children. It got so bad that we packed up and left. So even for someone like myself, who very much understands what's going on, you know, you have to remind yourself, like, I can't, you know, I can't live in this place. I can't stay here. Like, you have to remind yourself in the moment, like, I don't own property in this behavior. I'm renting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm packing up and I'm out. So you have to make smart decisions when there's bad things going on. And if you do have negative things going on around you, sit down, think about it, and give it, you know, some thought. Like, is it me? Is it someone around me? What's happening around me? Am I in a relationship that's ugly and nasty and fighting, and we call each other names and we go to the lowest lows? And, you know, you just want to remind yourself, like, what's happening in your life. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be you, but like I said, I experienced it firsthand, and it was just too much. I couldn't do it. So, you know, my marriage ended right there, and it was my choice. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm bouncing. And my life got better, you know, in every way, shape, or form. Like, once I was like, I can't do this. You know, I'm not sitting in this negative bowl, you know, I'm out. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've always felt that way, because same as you, I feel, now others may have differing opinions, but I feel that I'm a person that puts out positive energy. I'm all about humanity. I don't care, you know, what your background is, where you come
same.
from. I accept all humans as a human beings. I give you the benefit of the doubt till you show me otherwise. So I'm with you on that energy thing. And I think you may have really opened some eyes up with that, because you think about all the people that may be in those sort of situations where that negative energy is there, and
Absolutely.
maybe they don't connect to
That's
the
right.
paranormal side of it, or that doesn't compute for them. But I would wonder, for the people that do connect to that, if they were to monitor their situation, if they could, agree and confer that there is a connection there, because that would be awesome to know, because then, you know what I mean, it would explain a lot of things for different people who are going through that. They're like, wow, yeah, my home life is like that. That might be the reason I'm experiencing this. And so it's cool that you made that
Yeah.
connection.
Thank you. One more thing I want to mention before I forget too is another thing that negative energy around you can bring on are illness of any kind. It could be anything. It could be as major as cancer. It could be, I mean, serious things. And you might be going to the doctor and they can't figure out what's wrong with you. You know, it could be like you're getting massive headaches, migraines, you know, illness out of nowhere. Or maybe it's something diagnosed and you're wondering, what's happening to me? Why is all this going on? Why am I so sick? Or, you know, so, you know, remind yourself too, like, if you're a person out there who is going through something, and say you're having all these horrible, you know, things like physically happening to you and you don't know why, but you have a lot of negative energy around you, it could be exactly that. And that may be why. But once you literally get rid of that energy, and there are ways of getting rid of it, and you can also leave. Like, I'm not saying you have to leave whoever you're with, but I'm saying there are ways of making things better. So don't feel like there's no hope if anyone out there is going through something like that.
Yeah, good thing to add to that. Yeah, because you don't just want to throw it away because you're going through something, because things can change. You can change your energy. Two people
That's
get
right.
on the same page and realize, what the situation is. If both people want the best, then that energy can change. So that was
Absolutely.
good that you definitely added that there. And then Aloha Dave came to the rescue and said, "Yes, Mr. Rob G, you always put out really positive energy. Personally, I think it's contagious." I think that's great because I'll tell you, there are times that I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way all the time. But you know, I always try to put my best foot forward when I'm talking to people like you guys out there. So it means a lot that you guys feel that and that you reciprocate and you let me know. Thank you for doing that because it makes it worthwhile. I say this again. I do this for you guys. This is the reason why I do it, to move the needle for humanity in the positive progression of humanity, and that's essentially what we're talking about here tonight. So
Absolutely.
Dave Scott is bragging. You don't have to brag, Dave. You're in Vegas, and all of us are not. We get it. For the spot, I hope you
Hi,
win.
Dave.
Win big, because you're buying shots in Reno, dude. So we need
Whoop,
you to
whoop.
win big or
Can't
save
wait.
your money. Save your money or win big, one of the two.
I cannot believe how fast it is coming up. We like literally have like a week and a half.
A week and a half. I'm gonna be
I am
driving.
mind blown.
How are you getting? You flying in?
I'm flying in. Yeah. I'm flying in on Thursday morning and I'm flying back out Friday. No, I'm sorry, Monday around noon. So I'll be there the whole time.
I'm in Southern California, so about 4 hours from Vegas. So thought process is I might fly in. That's last minute thing, but the intention is to drive, and it's either driving up through Sacramento over to Reno because my mother's in Sacramento. It's Mother's Day weekend, so I probably should be doing that. Or I go over to Vegas and then I take the Vegas to Reno drive, which Jim Goodall was talking about earlier. Is a beautiful drive. It's probably 4 hours straight of desert in small little ghost towns that you pass through. So I've done it many times, but I might do that up to Reno just to kind of get that feeling. And then
I thought about maybe driving at first, but it's about 8 hours from where I'm at because I'm like way down here by San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna tootle up to Ontario, California, and fly out, and then So
the tickets are actually really cheap right now. I looked think out of LAX, last I checked was like $42 one way.
What?
Yeah. We were about to book it, but I didn't book it because I want to drive, but I still might book it. But yeah, maybe 4 days ago.
Do my ticket.
Definitely.
Mine was way higher than that, but like I live way down here, so going to LA from where I live, it's like probably a 1 hour drive with no traffic, but a 4 hour drive with traffic. So
well, here's the funny part. So I'm in Bakersfield, right? We have an airport here. The airport to fly from here to Reno is like twice as much as it is from LAX to Reno, which is like yeah. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll tell you what, I can't wait to meet you in Reno.
I know, I'm so excited. And I do love your
show.
energy, by the way. I think you have amazing energy.
I appreciate that. Same with you. Same with you. You have an awesome resonating energy. It's kind of gets inside of you. Yeah. And you know, that's the topic. But with that being said, Jax, I really appreciate you coming on now. I know it's going to be a Sunday
thing having me on again.
and then Tuesdays with Dave. So we're going to see a lot more of you, and we're going to see you in Reno as well.
I'll be there.
So I just want to thank you for coming in. Do you have anything you want to leave the audience with?
Well, I just want to let everybody know, I honestly just want everybody to understand that, you know, what goes on in your life, you absolutely have control over it. Don't ever feel like you don't have control. You 100% do. So if anything's bothering you, take that control and do what you want with it. If something's scaring you, tell it to go away. You know, if you're good in your space, then be happy and share it.
Awesome advice, Jax. Do appreciate you coming on in. We'll be talking to you very soon. Outside of that, enjoy the rest of your night. And yeah, let's drink it up in Reno. Let's drink.
Yeah, we will. I'll be back on Tuesday, guys. See you then.
Mm-hmm.
Good night.
Good night. All right, guys, that's Jax coming in on Sundays going forward. Like I said, we got our guy Travis Moostus who will be doing some Saturday stuff for us. So we're just building the team, man. We're building the team, we're building the show, we're building the family. And we're going to make sure that we consistently raise the bar, lining up some guests as well. Some guests that we haven't seen, right? Or haven't seen in a while. I'm working on bringing them in. I would love if you're on our Facebook group. I put out a post already. Send me some ideas of who you guys would like to see on the show. And as I have shown in the past, I will do what I can to make that happen. Dogface, glad to see you back. Glad to see you back. It's awesome to have you back, right? Saying great show, bro. Proud of you. Man, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And we are definitely trying to move in a direction where you are satisfied with the programming here at Spaced Out Radio. A lot of stuff on the horizon. Can't even really talk about it, but we got the Friday show in Reno that I can't wait for. So we'll be doing this thing live, and we're going to try to make this the best thing possible and bring up the graphic for that. Actually, as you see right here, Spaced Out Radio live show 2024, Spaced Out Radio fan party, May 10th through 12th. And I could tell you about it, or I could just let the commercial play, right? So I think I'll go ahead and do that. Let's check it out.
If you love your woo, it's time to make a commitment to the 3rd annual SOR fan party. This time, we're heading to Reno, Nevada and the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60 or $100 for VIP. With that, you get a free radio show. You get to hang out with celebrity guests from Spaced Out Radio, including our team, who are coming to hang out with you. You get to meet the entire team, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldine Orozco, and more. It's a weekend packed with adventure, and we want you there. After all, we're doing this for you. Find out more and get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com and book your hotels today at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. Come join us for the SOR fan party, May 10th through 12th, 2024.
So that is the fan party, and you can watch that fan party. As you can see, we have the show already set up on the YouTube, so you can go ahead and click on it, click the notification bell, because the show is at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is a lot earlier than we air anything on the channel, right? So you want to make sure that you don't miss the live show, because we want to kind of interact with you as well as the audience. So it would be cool to be able to maybe bring some of you guys up on screen as we do the show and kind of make it a full family thing. We want to make sure you feel included in what it is that we're doing. So we'll definitely do that. As far as it goes, the way I understand, 3 to 6 will be the live show. Right after that, we'll go ahead and jump into the VIP party. So who knows what happens there? I think that's when Dave Scott will buy all the drinks. Then we go ahead and move into Saturday. Saturday is the ghost hunt with Merle in Virginia City. And from what I've heard, I know I've heard Varla Ventura talk about Virginia City as being a super haunted town. And there's some haunted hotels and things like that in that city. So that should be pretty awesome. We'll see how that works out. I'll be there live, so I'll get to take part in a ghost hunt and kind of get the feeling and hopefully hear something while I'm there, right? Because I've never had that experience besides my own personal stuff that I've shown you. So that should be pretty awesome. Then Saturday night, we got Melinda Leslie doing the UFO Skywatch, and we will have hopefully a few people there that specialize in CE5. So what I'm hoping is during the Skywatch, we can, get some CE5 people to bring something in and maybe get something epic recorded on film. And then for those of you who are there live, obviously you'll get to see something live. Hopefully that happens. And then Sunday is a free for all, pretty much whatever you guys want to do, you just let us know. But at some point during this fan party, we got to make sure that we get Dave Scott down to dinner, invite him down for dinner, and then everybody orders pancakes. I think that would be epic, and Dave Scott would totally appreciate that, because you know how this guy loves breakfast for dinner, loves it, absolutely loves it. So make sure that you guys are in there so we can get Dave Scott some breakfast for dinner. Outside of that, we are at the end of the show, which I think has been a pretty awesome show. You know, we rebounding for the audio effects. I know we pushed through the Thursday and Friday show. We made that work. And, you know, I think looking back on that, it ended up being excellent. I will be back here tomorrow because Dave Scott is still en route to getting home. So he won't be home until tomorrow. And also, I'll be taking over the Monday show, which will have Lon Strickler on, right? So that should be awesome because we go over Lon's stories here on the show on the weekend. So I'll get to talk to him about some specific stories that we've looked at and then hear a lot of what he has to say. So it should be awesome meeting him and talking to him kind of for the first time. And that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and thank our super chatters here, right? We had T-Bone in the building. We had Deb from Sacramento. We had T-Bone again, and we had Dogface with the return coming back. Dogface is back in the fold, and then T-Bone again. So you guys really appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. It is all appreciated. So to all the viewers and listeners all across the globe, like I pointed out, Australia, England, just Europe, just everywhere, Canada, America, Mexico, to all the viewers and listeners across the globe, I want to thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best and will continue to do. And what is that, you ask? Well, Puck Elf at the buzzer. Appreciate you, Puck Elf. Thanks for your support of Spaced Out Radio. And you tell me what we do, Puck Elf. What do? We own the night. You guys have a great rest of your night. See you back here, 9 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. Lon Strickler, your host, Mr. Rob G, filling in for Dave Scott. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. Sleep well. Take care. Never say never.